that he,
And Mike Matthews is not going to be able to join us tonight.
Correct. All right, this is the meeting of the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission, calling to order at 6:01 p.m. on the 28th of May 2025. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. This is our normal routine. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
which is
for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
For all. As you were.
Okay.
I'll read the roll call. Matt Gifford is not with us. Lori Jones. Not as yet. Alan Kibbe here. Jeff Mangels.
Here.
Chris McDonald.
Present.
Mike Matthews. No, not here. John Pinto.
Here.
Chris White.
Here.
Don Remsen.
Here.
Thank you all. Moving right ahead. Amelia, do we have public participants tonight?
There are a few attendees, so if you'd like to participate, please use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen. And I haven't gotten any correspondence via email, phone, or anything like that. So I think the only public comment will be any attendees, but no attendees have raised their hand. So I guess there's no public comment tonight.
Thank you. Telesco should note that Lori Jones joined the meeting at 6:03 p.m. Acceptance of minutes, Laurie.
Perfect timing. Sorry, I got
Perfect.
late.
No worries.
Based on our legal review training, we're handling the latest minutes a little bit differently. Since the version that you guys have seen and which is posted on the website, Dr. Pinto had a couple of edits. So we will, Amelia, you'll share your screen, I hope, at this point. And we will go over those edits and then take a vote whether or not we approve these edits of Dr. Pinto's. They are in red. So Amelia, if you'll scroll down and we can all look at these together. What they are the same, it's the same language that was included in the agenda for tonight's meeting. These are the language proposals that he had raised at the last meeting, and we had decided to table them to give commissioners time to review. So, but Dr. Pinto had asked that these be included in the minutes from last month to show that they had, that we had seen them. So this is the same language that by now, hopefully you all have read because they were sent out for review at tonight's meeting. So those are the recommended language changes for Table 1, Item 3 and Table 1, Item 7. And then scrolling down, just one small language change in Chris McDonald's Finance Committee report, just clarifying that the grant that was declined was from the city. It doesn't change the meaning of anything, but it clarifies it in a good way. So those are the three changes that were made. Given those, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our April 23rd meeting?
Make that motion, Laura.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. The minutes are passed. And that is the end of that portion of our meeting.
Very much, Laurie.
Yeah.
Moving right ahead, the Application Review Committee, we have a lengthy agenda tonight. Dr. Pinto.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just to re-echo what you had talked about, we do have to let the agenda, but what I was trying to do, certainly maybe to expedite, I have consolidated, I guess, by agent. So I've asked, what I've done is have the agent, for example, Mr. Jim Bajek, who we have two of his applications going first and second, and then move along to the other agents and sort of lump them all together so that we don't have to jump back and forth from each participant. So the first object on the item is 86 Bluff Avenue, which is a COP, and this is an applicant from Philip and Aaron Kerr, and they're requesting deep approval to reconstruct an existing dock and a seawall currently in fair to poor condition. The seawall is approximately about 120 feet linear length of seawall, will be rebuilt first, raising its average elevation to about from 7.1 to 8.1 feet through the addition of approximately 9 cubic yards of stone and mortar. They talked about the work being completed using hand labor and small operator-controlled mobile lift on an upland side to minimize any disturbance in the site. And then following the seawall reconstruction, the dock will be replaced in kind with minor upgrades. And they talk about the existing structure consists of a 4 by 16 fixed pier, a 2.5 foot by 30 foot ramp, and a 10 foot by 10 foot float. And then the new pier will be raised in an elevation, the ramp widened to about 3 feet, and the float stop system will be installed. Previous ramp system, previous float did not have any float stops on it. So again, that's a new addition to what they propose. The two existing pier supporting piles are in good condition, and they will be reused. And the dock components will be prefabricated off-site and installed on-site. And the float will be delivered via workboat at mid to high tide, after which the ramp will be installed and then project completed. So Jim, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that particular project. I have the, let me see if I have the share here. Let me get this here. All right, we can see that. This is the location here. So Jim, Mr. Bajek is here, right?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, here's the proposed application that you have. Certainly what we're concerned about too, sort of the littoral boundary rights here, as far as the distance that we have from dock to dock. But maybe you can shed some light on that for us.
Oh, yeah, I guess we neglected to put them in. I mean, the dock is where it is, where it was permitted previously, obviously. And we're well within, the 25-foot setback, on both property lines. We just erred by not showing the extension of the property lines. So I hope that's okay in this case.
I think with the understanding that the drawing would be amended to show the lines.
Yeah, well, drawing, yeah, that's true. We have, let's see, this is it here, right? This is this.
Yeah, we can certainly add that to the plans. I mean, it's actually, the property lines with Bluff Avenue, it's kind of hard to show an extension of that because it's Bluff Avenue, that property line is curved.
Yeah, I don't know there's a certain rules that are followed usually with regard to the parent rights.
Surveyor knows.
Yeah, that's right. A surveyor knows how to do that as far as the curvature of the land, whether it follows a certain set point or how that, follows either some permanent boundary here. I'm not exactly sure how that works here.
Yeah. Well, we can certainly, add those lines into the plans.
Yeah, that would be appreciated, Jim, just for completeness.
Sure. Be pleased to do that.
Everything there is properly permitted.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's unpermitted.
Well, this was a dock that was previously in place, and you had permits previous to this application.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was shown here, I guess, in that application here. I guess that was later on.
Yeah, the dock was originally permitted in 1996 to the previous owner. Permit number 1996-01383-MG.
All right. And as you see here from the example, the previous dock does not have, for example, it's sitting on the bottom right here. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. So that's going to be a change where you're going to have float stops to prevent the dock from sitting on the bottom for any appreciable tide cycle.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, it's here. Yeah.
And we're raising the pier elevation to coincide with DEP's requirement to have the bottom stringer at least 5 feet above mean high water.
Right, right. Okay.
No, no objection
Yeah.
with those understandings. That the
That's
drawing-
true,
The
yeah.
drawing will be amended to show the extended lines and the distance between the proposed structure and the lines.
Does any of the commissioners have any other comment or any questions they want to ask?
I didn't really see any other changes, John, other than that, the float stops and a couple of elevation changes. Was that pretty much it?
That was as far as I've seen, yes.
Yeah, the pile's going to be reused and it's an improvement. So absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
In that instance, John, do you want to say it's consistent with the harbor management plan?
Yeah, I guess
And-
we, yeah,
and
I
not-
would,
not
I would certainly have no
state
problem.
No objection. but-
Yeah, no, it's, again, it's pretty much the same, but it's certainly an improvement based on the previous dock structure
So
that have there.
Could make an argument it's consistent with the plan.
It
the
is.
management plan.
Yeah. So if anyone want to make a recommendation that, we find the application to may be consistent with the harbor management plan with the caveat that the drawings would be redone in place of the riparian rights or riparian lines on that project and then move forward with the project.
Yeah, John, I'll make that approval and just put our standard language in with that association.
All right, so that's 86 Bluff. And we're going to find it consistent with plan. And then with the riparian lines,
Littoral.
littoral lines, yeah, drawn in on that. All right, all those in favor with that?
No, I'll second the motion.
Thank
John.
you, Jim. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Any abstentions on that? Okay, so moved. All right. Good. Thank you very much, Jim. The next project too is in Canfield Island, Jim. So hold on.
Mhm.
This is certainly this involves the Canfield Islands. It's a special taxing district, and what they're doing is seeking approval to perform necessary repairs on the existing bridge accessible to Canfield Island from the shoreline down near the beach area. The proposal supports a Connecticut COP application and includes a detailed inspection report with photographs. It says certainly quite in detail. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Let me stop sharing here. Where's it? Oh, here's stop share. And we have Canfield Island here. Okay. So let me see. Is that still, are we still sharing? No, we're not still sharing. Hold on. Share. And we're going to share here. Okay. All right. So what we're looking at here is the Canfield Island Bridge. Sprite Island Yacht Club is down in this direction here. And this is the Canfield Bridge, which they look at Canfield Island Bridge, which they plan to refurbish. And well, I can briefly cover the scope of work. And let's say the scope of work involves support piling rehabilitation. They talked about each existing pile will be encased in a fiberglass reinforced plastic and carbon fiber sleeves, extending approximately 2 feet below the substrate. And the metal reinforcing rods will be inserted between the sleeves and pilings filed by an epoxy-based mortar. So it's probably the actual construction. They're going to be talking about replacement of cross-bracing replacement. So the existing timber cross-bracing will be removed and replaced with galvanized steel to improve the long-term duration of the marine environment and the marine environment. And talking about the decking replacement. So we're going to be deteriorating timber decking, and the railings will be fully replaced with materials that replicate the original appearance while meeting modern safety standards. And they're talking about repairs will be conducted using hand tools and instructed by workboats and floats from the area. The commercial diver will perform underwater tasks while the bridge remains functional. These repairs are critical for ensuring a continued structural integrity, public safety, and environmental compliance. And the project is expected to take approximately 100 days, subject to weather and tidal action. So Jim, I don't know if you want anything else you wanted to add. I know some of the commissioners had some questions.
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of notes. after we submitted the COP application to DEEP, our team thought more about whether or not divers would be necessary, and we came to a conclusion that we would not need divers. The water's pretty shallow out there, and the bottommost part of the sleeve jackets that are going to go around each pile are going to be installed at low water, and to minimize the water depth for installation, and that way we won't need the need for divers.
Right.
We're also, during the construction of the bridge work itself, the surface part, we're still going to be keeping one lane open, but there's going to be a 4-hour increments. We will have to shut down the bridge for because of whatever surface repairs are being done. And if during the shutdown of the bridge, if there's like an emergency on the island, we can very quickly reopen the bridge for passage of emergency vehicles. So we're being very, very sensitive to, first of all, the property owners that live on the island, make sure that they can come and go while the work is being done, but also if there's an emergency on the island, that the emergency vehicles will be able to make passage.
Yeah. And what about access on either side of the bridge from boaters, if anything, for kayakers instead of small boats?
Yeah, that'll be unrestricted. I mean, we'll have work boat and a float out there, but there'll be plenty of room for passage.
Yeah. Matt, did you want to make some comment with regard to the Sprite Island people? They have access to boats on either side, or more?
Yeah, no, they're in full support of this. Just a couple of quick questions. Was the height, from mean water to underside for passage going to change in any way?
No, the height won't change at all.
Okay. And then in terms of, is there a specific time of year this is going to be done, just in case that there's back and forth traffic and, at least one or two of the open thoroughfares?
Well, we want to start work as soon as possible. So, but it takes about 2 months to get all the necessary material once we have the permits in hand. So we're probably talking late summer at the earliest for startup.
Yeah, those are the only questions. The height issue was just a concern, just to make sure the boats could still pass at the, closer to the high water mark, which it's very tight anyways, but if that wasn't being decreased, then there was just no questions.
And the bridge work is going to be done in 20-foot sections. So only 20 feet at a time of the bridge itself will be worked on. Although, like I say, there'll be a workboat and a small barge, perhaps, when necessary. But yeah, there'll be no change in height of the passage of boats, and there'll be plenty of space for boats to pass by.
But yeah, those are the only questions I had. Thanks.
Jeff, you had a question?
Jim, who owns the bridge?
Canfield Island Association.
Canfield Island Association?
Yep. And they were given the last permit for redoing the bridge was issued by DEEP in 1987.
The Stanford Commission looked at a similar project with a bridge to the island on I think it's, Wallace Drive. And in that instance, the Bureau of Aquaculture had some requirements or conditions that they imposed on the construction work to protect shellfish resources. And when we talked with the director of the Bureau of Aquaculture yesterday, he hadn't seen this yet. Do you, on a COP, do you typically provide it to the Bureau of Aquaculture, or does DEEP do that?
we're not required to do that only for certain projects under a CLP. And this is one of the types of projects that does not require.
I would make the recommendation that if the commission has no objection to this, it should be with the condition that the project is reviewed by the Bureau of Aquaculture, and which and any conditions that they may apply to protect shellfish resources should be incorporated into the work. And then the other thing about the emergency access, would you discuss this or get input from the city's emergency services about how best to manage the work? I mean, you say you're going to do it, which of course is
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. We'll consult with them
so I
prior to any startup.
think that would be another condition of state.
Oh, sure, you got fire ambulance, et cetera, to worry about police,
That you incorporate any conditions required by the Bureau of Aquaculture to protect shellfish resources and consult with emergency services before the work starts to make sure you maintain emergency access properly.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are work barges going to be in that area, certainly at low tide. And I guess, certainly worrying about scouring the bottom, that was the only main, certainly a main concern too.
Yeah, we'll be very careful about not having the barges touch. But it's if we're going to use what's the term barge, it's not going to be like a big barge.
It's going to be basically a work vessel. Yeah.
A work platform.
Right.
No, they won't have very much draft.
Okay.
One other thing, you mentioned shellfish and protection of them. When we did the consultation with DEEP, they suggested that we consult with the Norwalk Shellfish Commission, which we did. We forwarded the plans and the application to them.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's not that, we're not just ignoring the shellfish resources.
And then I'd add that to a condition too.
Yeah.
Not just input from the Bureau of Aquaculture, but also incorporate any recommendations by the Shellfish Commission for protecting shellfish resources.
All right. That's a fair request.
Did Steve on the call? I'm sorry, John. Did he have any comment about it?
No, Steve's not here. I don't know. No.
He has an event tonight. He said he would try to join, but he's not here now.
But I can send him the application,
Well, he already has it.
he has it. Okay, good. All right. He probably hasn't acted upon it yet, but that would certainly be our recommendation then,
Yeah, I haven't heard back from him yet.
Okay. All right. We'll contact him about that.
Okay.
And then, any commissioners have any other questions as far as that's concerned? I mean, it's certainly consistent with our plan in that, we certainly have agreed to having, repair of any damaged structures, certainly in and around the harbor, so that this certainly goes along with that. Providing with our conditions. So we can incorporate that as part of our recommendation, Jim, that you've consult with Shellfish Commission and Aquaculture, and that we'd have no objection, certainly to this, and that it certainly is consistent with our harbor management plan.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah. Oh,
Where does the public right of way end?
Where does the public right of way end?
Yeah, so the bridge is private. Is the streets?
Right. I'll tell you, Chris, over here, if you ever go down there, there's a gate right about in this. Can you see the arrow right here?
Yeah.
There's a gate right here where you need access or radio access to get in.
But if the bridge is private, the right of way would end up here.
Yeah.
Well, the left
isn't
side
it
is
further
the main
back?
end.
No, that's all Canfield Island. There's a gate before that.
Yeah, no, you're talking the bottom section of the page, but isn't the road or the city-owned section of the road end like 2-3 blocks before the bridge?
Well, that's what I thought. You mean right in here?
No. That's the water side. That's the
so that's
Canfield Island side. You're going on the other side, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right there is where the gate is.
Yeah, right.
But I thought the city-owned portion of the road, and again, I don't know the legal terminology, but I thought that was like 2 or 3 blocks more down to the left of the page.
Down in here?
Out of view. Yeah.
I didn't hear. That I don't know. Let's see. I can't really, it's too blurred in that view there.
Right, because it's all Shorehaven Road.
Right. The point there being what now, as far as
Well, and so my follow-up question is, Jim, do you know the last time this bridge was inspected?
Yeah, we have that inspection report. Let's see.
Is it like an official biennial inspection that's submitted to the DOT?
That's a good question. It's a very extensive report.
Okay.
It must have been at least done after Hurricane Sandy.
Yes, the report's dated April 5th of 24.
Okay. Because every bridge is supposed to be inspected every 2 years.
And well, this was inspected in
Right.
January of 21 prior to that.
And those reports are meant to be submitted to the state
And
agencies.
I expect that's why this inspection report was prepared.
Right.
I guess, yeah, now here's Shorehaven Road goes right up to the extension, right to the entrance of the bridge here.
Right. Now, I don't know if that's also a public right of Shorehaven Road is also public right of way on the other side. That affects what's required by law and stuff. So that's part of the reason I was asking.
You're talking about on the other side, you mean on Canfield Island itself, Chris?
Yeah.
Oh, in this area right here.
No, on Canfield Island itself, is that a public road or not?
Is that I don't know.
Or is it owned by the Canfield Island Association? Curious. All right.
As far as I know, I mean, that doesn't affect the actual the work on the bridge itself or the project itself from the commission standpoint.
No, I guess no, not specifically. I was wondering if it fell under the bridge inspection.
Oh. Well, apparently they're going to be doing it, getting
right,
redoing the bridge. So, and you plan to start with this summer, Jim?
I'm thinking the earliest would be late summer.
Okay. All right. So to move things along, that we certainly find it consistent with the harbor management plan, along with the caveat that we'd certainly recommend that the Shellfish Commission provide comment, as long as the Bureau of Aquaculture would require comment on the construction during construction of the bridge.
In the common language about best management practices.
Well, that's what we usually incorporate that, especially when we have work barges in the area, so yeah, the best management practices so that the vessels do not, affect, any portion of the substrate during time and tide type thing. So, all right.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
All right. Anyone would like to make a motion on that?
I'll make that motion. That it's in line with the harbor management plan and all of our standard language.
Okay, all right. And that, the standard language being, as far as best management practices, reviewed by the Shellfish Commission and Bureau of Aquaculture, and being consistent with the harbor management plan.
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor?
You need a second.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
need a second.
I thought we had one.
I'll second that, John.
Okay, thank you, Matt. All right, all those in favor? All right.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Or nays? Okay, we'll move forward on that one. Thank you very much. That's good.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much for you putting both of these projects together like that for me.
All right.
And made my life a little easier this evening.
Anything that can help out, Jim.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Have you read?
All
Thanks,
right.
Jim.
Yeah, Jim.
Yep.
Jim.
All right.
So,
Next application is with Land Tech. Tom, I think Tom is here. Tom Ryder. I think is
Yes,
Tom
I
here?
am.
Yeah,
Good
Tom.
morning. Good
This
evening.
is 163 Gregory Boulevard. This is a pre-application. And the project is to construct a residential dock consisting of a 16-foot long by 4-foot wide fixed pier, supported by 4 pilings, and a 36-foot long by 3-foot wide ramp to a 20-foot by 5-foot wide float. with a 6 foot by 5 foot landing support by the two piles. Let me see if I'll get that up here. Let me see, where is that here, right here. And, is that still, could you see,
Yep.
Yeah,
can
we
see-
can see it, John.
oh, it's there. Okay, good. I wasn't sure whether it's on the same screen or not here when I do the screen sharing. All right, so the application here is at 163 Gregory Boulevard. And what the applicant is planning to do is put a dock extending this area right here. We looked at this, and maybe Tom, you can certainly help us out with regard to the distance from side to side, shore to side to side.
Well, on
Because-
the next figure shows that.
Yeah, on the next page, there's the setbacks.
There you go.
Right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have not a problem. We have an issue with regard to the fairway that's dealing, because we're dealing with a narrow fairway here with regard to boat traffic here, and in this case here. But what we're trying to understand now, it's a slightly different view here. Is that right now, Tom? I'm looking at.
Well, it is, yes. It's the north is to the southwest. Not north is to the southwest. North is like 7 o'clock. Yes.
East is.
So right. So in other words, this view here that we're looking
Well,
at.
if you scroll down to the last figure, it's all put into perspective of an aerial.
Which this one here? Oh, here we are. Okay, here. This one.
Yeah. It just shows an aerial. It shows distances for other docks, in proximity to other docks, and kind of spatially understands where everything's going to happen.
You're not talking about this diagram here, are you?
Yeah,
He is. He is talking about
that's
that.
the same orientation as that.
Yeah,
not
it's the
first
same
one, that's the
orientation. I'm
second.
sorry, but
It just has the numbers.
I think it's a better figure for discussion, is all my point was.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we're concerned certainly about the distance that we have here and the extension of this dock. That's certainly going to be probably halfway into the fairway here. But obviously there's not going to be any opposing dock in this area right here. And let's see.
There's two things, John, that
Yeah.
in Charles Creek that the harbor management plan establishes. One is the navigation fairway that follows the dredging approval that was given to Charles Creek Association. And that's back in 2000 or thereabouts. And I don't know if that fairway goes up this far, but in addition to the fairway, there's also, we call for a minimum 55 foot of unobstructed waterway width between.
I'd have to go back and look at my records on that one.
Well, no, that's in the harbor management plan, the 55 foot width
No,
of
but
unobstructed.
we had other
waterway.
projects dealing with the same aspect here a few while back.
But does that does the Charles Creek dredged area go up this far?
I don't think so.
I don't think it does.
No, well, this is pretty far down Charles Creek. I don't know where.
It's hard to visualize this because actually on the drawing, what you normally think is east is actually west.
And
The last application I think we looked at that was similar to this that brought up the fairway question, I think Dr. Pinto, was the one just on the top of the page here. Yeah, right through there. I think that was the one.
That was, and then when John Romano was chair, I think we did
Correct.
review this dock here.
Yeah, that was a handful of years ago that I think that was the question of what is the 50% dimension of the width, and therefore what is the 25% at the apex of what the the dock owner could put in, therefore still having a 50% of channel thoroughfare.
Well, I'm reading on my, I'm looking at figure 4 here, which is one above it, but I'm measuring that out on the scale in front of me. I'm sorry, 2 above it. I'm sorry. There you go. Sorry. And I'm looking from width to width here. Is 140 feet from mean high. I don't actually see the mean high on the other side, but
You're talking this area right in here, Tom, right?
well, it was,
This I see. Let's see. I can vaguely see. This is the dock here on that other side over here. This is the other. This is. There's actually nothing here. No, there's no dock or obstruction here.
It's a bulkhead.
well, there's one just up at the top of the sheet. It's called there's something labeled float.
right.
That's
There is a float there, and there is one to the south, to the bottom of the page.
Right.
That's these two. That's these two objects here. This one here,
Correct.
here,
Right.
and here. But there's nothing adjacent to that right here. And
Yeah,
that's,
you don't want to, you're not creating a slalom course. either.
no, that's right. So
So and 50 feet would assume stationing of boats on the docks as well.
And if you look at the distance between those two floats that we just pointed out on the left hand of the figure and the proposed floats on our property, there is approximately 77 feet between the two.
So 11 feet for each boat. It's not very much.
I said 77.
Yeah, that's the clear distance between the floats. That doesn't include stationing of boats on there, which also obstruct the channel.
well, you would have boats on the outside of the dock here, right?
Sure.
Yes.
That's what you do with, that's what they're
Well,
there
that's
for.
what I'm saying. So obviously, what the beam here? What are you talking about? It 16, 17 foot? What? No, what big of a beam?
No,
No, it'd be
If-
about
if-
a
if
9
that's
foot
a-
beam for this size boat.
If that dock is 20 feet long, you're not talking much more than 8.5, 9
Yeah, that's
feet.
what I said.
Yeah.
9 foot,
Oh,
9 foot beam is what I was thinking.
yeah.
So if you do 77 minus 9, you're at 60, 66, 60, 68.
Yeah, from in this region right here.
Right. Well, the other
Sure.
guy gets a boat too.
Well, he'd be up farther north and farther south, but correct. That's correct.
Gets a boat over here and over here.
Yeah.
That's
Correct.
yeah. But there's nothing. There's no facility.
Let me just show you, if I subtract 10 feet from either side, just for a 9 foot beam, we'll just easy math here. So we have, it's from the one on the bottom of the page there, where it says float on the bottom left of the page, right there, from that corner to the bottom left corner of our proposed float. That distance is 72 feet. So then 62 feet, 52 feet. So then you have 52 feet between those two, assuming a 10-foot wide beam.
Are you doing a diagonal or are you doing something?
I was just doing the distance of the two corners, just for.
No, that doesn't work. You have to go, you have
That's a
to,
that's
you have to draw a line between the two floats and do something
that's a
90 degrees to it.
that's a diagonal line you're drawing out here, right? From,
I was,
from here to here.
but yeah, minus 20 feet for the beams for each boat. That's what I just thought that was an easy way for a discussion. If there's
Sure.
a way, let me know, but that's just.
So when the Charles Creek Fairway was established, is that established with, is there actually northern and easting points for that? GPS, longitude, latitude points for it?
Are they available? I can put them on if they're available.
Well, yeah, that's,
The fairway was in accordance with the dredged approval for the Charles Creek Association. That was the formal fairway. And then outside of that, the policy was to maintain 55 feet of unobstructed water area from structures on both sides.
Both sides.
right. So now we have to guess where that 55 feet is. That's what my,
I thought we had done that. That's why I'm trying.
well,
to figure-
yeah, but I
So if there's a better way to discuss it, I mean, a better way for me to understand so I can calculate it better, let me know.
yeah, that's agreed. You need a little more direction on this.
Well, unless we get the Charles Creek, the dredge application. I don't know whether,
But we're assuming that the fairway doesn't go up, the designated fairway based on that certificate of permission doesn't go up this far in the creek.
Why are we assuming that? This is the bottom, this is the middle of Charles Creek. It is nowhere near the end of it.
Well, I thought we were just talking about, well, we have to go back and double check it, but I don't think it goes all the way up into the creek. We just talked earlier about it going up to a dock that we thought that was south of this, but we'll have to double check that.
Oh,
There's
we
a
need-
set
we
of
need-
docks further up the creek from this.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The one for the condos 6, and the other one 7 all the way up.
Yeah, if you go to that picture there, John, like if we can determine what the distance is from that blue boat above the yellow structure 3.75 for -38.0, what's the distance from that dock to the opposing dock? It seems like that's the most narrowest area right there. Am I right?
You're talking from here to here?
Yeah. No, if you go just above that, yeah, from
no.
that blue boat across
I can
the
figure
creek,
that
yeah.
out right now. I have
That's
that in
that's
front of me.
65 feet if I scale it off of Google Earth.
Well, I have a scaled, let me see here.
Chris, you mean talking about this distance here, 65 feet?
Yeah. I'll double check it. I can zoom in closer.
Yeah, because if the property owner that's directly across ever wanted to continue a dock or whatever, just assuming worst case scenario, what would that be
That's-
versus?
I've got 68 feet and that's,
Yeah, I did it closer, 68 feet.
yeah,
So the dock proposal will fit within this yellow boundary, Tom? It's going to extend out, be extending out more here.
I don't have that knowledge that the dock would fit within that boundary. It'll fit within the extended riparian lines, but I'm not sure it's gonna fit with, I don't have that information to know
That's
if
what
it's gonna,
that's what you're measuring. You're measuring for, the dock is going to be extending out in this region right here,
correct.
you know? And then we have this, we would have this distance here to worry about. This is like a little narrow section here. Well, sure what we need to do on this one. This is a pre-application.
Could you request some more dimensions, John?
Oh, well, we need a policy on what what dimensions we're enforcing. Yeah, yes, they need to supply more dimensions, but at the same time, you know, is there a fairway there? Is there not a fairway there? Is it a 55-foot fairway? Does a 55-foot fairway preclude the stationing of boats in the fairway?
Yes,
We can't answer any. We can't give him any guidance without having those policies ourselves.
the policy was to provide for a minimum 55-foot unobstructed waterway width.
Okay, that's good. That precludes boats being stationed in it.
That
Right.
includes, precludes boats being in that 55-foot width.
Right. So that isn't clear distance of docks. That's, you know, dock plus some beam width, which should be
That's right.
at least 10 feet, if not 15.
So
Right.
does that width include the, I'm sorry, I missed that. Does the beam width, does the fairway width include the beams of the boats or is it just dock to dock?
No, it doesn't. No.
It's out. Yeah, you could not station a vessel in the fairway.
Okay,
55.
In that 55-foot wide, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's probably why, again, you notice how these individual docks are situated here.
Well, those may have been there
Before,
before.
yes,
we
correct,
established
yeah.
the fairway.
But I guess they have more water here. than
That
they have-
one just to the yeah, right just below your cursor right there. That was the one that was in discussion that that we had the final declaration of 50% of what is the final distance, and you're allowed 25% of that.
Well, yeah, well, we're going by the Army Corps'
Yeah, it was the Corps of Engineers.
Corps of Engineers aspect there. It says, well, that's what I put, to comply with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers 50-foot separation policy between opposing docks.
well,
And
if I may add something, what I did, I'm on figure 4 now, which is one before, I guess 2 before this. And what I did was, and I guess this, I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess they're in the reverse order. Scroll out a little bit, if you could. No, not scroll, just scroll out a little bit.
Zoom in and out.
Zoom out.
Zoom out. Yeah. Now, what I did was on that left-hand side of our proposed float, the waterward end of our proposed float, I drew a line that went all the way up from the 2 extended riparian lines. So I just drew a line all the way up and down from extended riparian line to extended riparian line on our waterward side of our float. So I took the waterward side of our float and just drew a line from end to end, from property line to property line. Then what I did was I measured off that distance to the float to the bottom left and the top left on our photographs. Does that help any?
well, that's a float, but you know, there's any vessel
Right.
in on that float.
But what I'm saying is that those distances from that float to my line is like 62 feet on the bottom left, and it's 83 feet from the that line to the top left float. I just didn't know if that helped in any discussion here.
But that distance isn't shown on the drawing now, though, Tom.
No, it's not. I'm trying to get some guidance from you guys, and I'm not being critical of that. I'm just asking for guidance as to how I can show things or adjust things to comply with what you need is really what the question is.
Well, like, all I can say is that, yeah, if you have a vessel on this side of the dock here, you have a vessel over here, wide here, so it's gonna be,
Well, you don't know what beam vessel you're gonna put in there, but Tom, you stated that you drew in a line from the float that's on the bottom
No, I
to
drew a
the float
line
that's on the top.
I drew a line along our waterward proposed float. I'll take our
Mhm.
float, the proposed
Yep.
float, the waterward line right there, all the way up, and I just drew a line all the way up to the extended riparian line and then down to the extended riparian line. I just drew a line from end to end.
you're talking
So I'll keep going all the way up. There you go, and all the way
Yep.
back down.
here and
Right,
here.
that's
Okay,
where I drew my
got
line.
it.
Here. But that you see is 25 feet. This would probably assume 25 feet as well.
Well,
Yeah,
no. What I'm saying is I just drew a line from extended riparian line to riparian line. So then I can measure to the left, to the floats to the left, if that would, just as the distances. I thought that would be useful to you, but it might not be. And I can screen and show the arrows and what I did.
Yeah,
here,
well,
but-
you're talking about, you extended a line from here
Well,
to here, and then you measured from here down to here.
Correct.
yes, yes. And that's where I got the 68 feet and the 83 feet or whatever it was.
Right, so bearing any vessel on this dock over here, it would probably be shy, whatever that vessel distance is going to be here, the width of that vessel right here. So it might be right up to about to here, which might be about, probably about 60 feet then.
64 and a half, 64.
But then that also includes the size of the vessel that's going to be on this dock over here.
Right.
So whatever beam length you're going to have here, it's going to be out extending out in this direction here. So you're going to have to extend this out down to here, perhaps, whatever size.
Okay, this is the guidance I'm looking for. I'm just trying to figure out how I can
That's
help.
what I'm assuming. I say you're gonna have a vessel right here, and
Right.
then the side of the outside of that vessel is going to be probably be right about in this area right here.
Pretty
So
close.
Your line here is going to be extended here, and then extending down to here, and then I'm sure there's going to be a vessel on this side over here as well. So you're going to be talking about whatever distance from here to here. Let's say assuming this point here over to perhaps this point here. I don't know what that distance would be.
Well, that's what this line was for. The point was that from the distance between those two floats was 63 feet. So if you subtract 20 feet from that, because you figure a beam of 9 and a beam of 9, and we're just doing easy math here, so 10. So you subtract 20 from that, that was, what did I say, 63, so 53, 43.
43 feet, yeah. So it's less than that, 50 foot.
Right, so that's the kind of guidance I'm looking for, so I need to pull this in a little bit, is what you're saying.
I would assume so from what the numbers would see from that. That's right.
I think we want to see the numbers.
But yeah, well,
the
that's what
lines, the
he'll do.
drawings
This is
show that.
a pre-application, so he comes
Right.
back.
But what I don't want to do is just draw some lines in there and then say, well, no, that's not what we're looking for. So I was looking for a
Yeah.
little guidance right now is to say, this is what I want, so that I can look at it and say, aha, I fit within that rectangle, and here we are. I can revise it to fit.
I mean, because there are some good sized vessels that go up and down that creek.
Tom, if you could revise the drawing to show the linear distance across the waterway, and then also the linear distance from the face of your proposed dock to the other side of the, well, in that instance, it's the bulkhead line.
Okay.
I think that's what, and then
Yeah.
a judgment as to whether the,
Well, it's not that.
the
It's just,
55-foot width.
yeah,
can
but
be-
it's
Okay,
also,
well, right now it's 94 feet. So I'll show a line from where your cursor is right now. Sorry.
right here.
To the bulkhead line to the left there. I'll draw a line there. It'll be around 94 feet. I'll show that on the plans.
Also a vessel here. So that's,
Well, what we-
So I'm just a little confused here. So there's nothing opposite this dock. Yeah,
Yet.
nothing over there yet.
yet.
So are we talking about the 55 or 50 feet, whatever it might be, that's across? Or because certainly you can't
No,
can't look at the south or the north
It's
float.
got to be a fairway between whatever obstruction, whatever structure is here. There's a dock here. There's going to be a vessel here.
Yeah,
there's-
yeah.
there's a dock here, there's gonna be a vessel here, there's gonna be a vessel here. That's gonna certainly take away from the freeway, the fairway right in here. So it's whatever distance that exists from, here's your dock, you can draw a line here, but then I'd be more concerned about what size vessel you're gonna put over here, because you got an extension over here. So the distance over here between, let's say, a vessel here and a vessel perhaps on this side over here should at least be more, about 50 feet.
Let me share. I've marked it up.
All right, I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, thanks. Share. All right, tell me when you see that.
We
Yeah.
got it.
Okay, so this is an extension of this dock to this dock that establishes this bulkhead line.
Okay.
Here's your dock, proposed dock, perpendicular line across that. From that corner to the other extension of the bulkhead line is 70 feet, 10 inches. So, so that if you had a 10-foot boat stationed here and a 10-foot boat stationed here, you would have a 50-foot passage.
Just about 50 passage, that's correct.
Yeah,
So based on that, it does meet the requirements.
55 feet if you want.
Oh, 55 feet. I'm sorry. I was thinking 50 in my head. Excuse me.
All right.
Well, okay, are we at the point where you're saying that I just need to reduce this by 5 feet? Or are we at the point where I need to show some different dimensions and then we discuss it next time?
I think he should show the dimensions.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
true.
up to Chris to show the.
No, that's
dimensions
the,
of-
no, I
No,
think,
no, yeah, this is what we would want to see with it. If when you come back to us, this is what we'd like to see. That looks kind of like the direction you wanted. So that's what I would ask for.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing, Tom, other than you've put forward a lot of really great data. So I think that's the only thing to kind of circle it up.
Okay, so what I'm seeing here on the screen is what you want shown on our plan.
Right.
Take a screenshot, Tom.
Yeah, well, I got it. I already drew it on my.
well, Tom, you have more, I should say, more accurate numbers, I would imagine. All right, Chris, these are accurate numbers?
Yeah, I mean this. I just scaled it off of his drawing, so that's.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's, just from a surveyor, whatever, I think he would have more accurate numbers. From,
Sure. Yes, it's his. His surveyor's got to sign it. So I'm just.
Yep.
Right, I have a scale drawing in front of me and I'm using a scale and it came to the same number, so.
Right. Sure. I'm a PE, but I'm not going to sign this for you.
Right,
All right.
okay, so what I'm saying is that that's what I will show on the revised figure, that's fine.
Table this stuff.
Okay, yeah, so we'll wait till next month to see it?
Well, I can send it to you tomorrow, but we're probably not gonna be discussing it till next month, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, then I'll send it to you for next month.
Right, Tom, it's 55 feet as well.
55 feet, thank you.
All right, so we'll table this project for next month's application.
Understood, thank you. And I got the next two, so I'll be right on, I'll stay on.
Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, the next, again, Land Tech, it's 18 Marion Avenue, and let me see if I could, let me get this out here. That's a CAM application, and let me see if I get this out here for a minute.
Well, we can talk the dock first. I have a dock and a cam.
Right, yeah, we have a pre-application for the dock, and we have the CAM application. All right, you want to discuss the dock first?
That's up to you. I just
No, well,
discuss them both at once, whatever you.
yeah,
whatever
so,
you
yeah,
choose.
so I have them in order here. So we have let me get this up here right in a moment here. 18 Marion Avenue. There we go. And this is the CAM application here. Okay. Well, that's not it. It's a CAM application we got here. Well, I'll read it. It says, all right, so Mario Lopez and Jay Greco and Tom Wormser were the applicants. They seek approval for the construction of a new single-family resident with the associated decks, patio, a driveway access from Marion Avenue. The house will be elevated 16.2, roughly 16.2 feet, which is 4.2 roughly feet above the 100-year flood elevation, ensuring compliance with the floodplain standards. The residential dock is also proposed just north of the existing seawall, which we'll review in a moment. While the majority of the dock is being permitted separately by the Connecticut DEP, this application includes approximately 17 square feet of dock landward of the coastal jurisdiction line and 32 square feet landward of the mean high water line, both of which fall under the local jurisdiction. The property is flat with elevations raising from 7.1 to 7.9 feet. Stormwater from the roof and the trench drain in the driveway will be directed to on-site subsurface infiltration galleries, allowing water to percolate into the ground before leaving the site. Let me see if I have, so mainly that's what we're mostly concerned about. Tom, was the runoff from the roof, et cetera, and there you have planned a Coltech system that will be in place.
Correct.
So basically, and again, best management practices as far as making sure that, during the construction process that debris and any effort, whatever does not affect Norwalk Harbor during that construction, and that you might have a maintenance plan with regard to the Coltech system as far as,
That's correct. And that'll all be discussed next week at the Planning and Zoning Commission, just to
right, okay.
just let you know when that'll occur.
Because those are basically the commission's,
Mhm.
commission's review of many of these types of projects, and that is, again, the water runoff, and that everything will be done on subsurface, surface water from the roof, et cetera, and driveway will be run through a Coltech system rather than going directly into the harbor.
That's correct.
I think, John, also in addition to the stormwater management measures that would make this consistent with the plan, the raising of the house out of above
yes.
the base flood elevation also makes it consistent
with the
because
plan.
it's reducing the vulnerability of existing development to
Right.
the flood hazard.
Okay.
So-
Correct. First floor elevation is at 16.17,
Right.
So the consistency would be based on those two things.
and we're in an AE 12.
That's a consistent height.
Not the it's reducing the vulnerability of an existing structure to the flood hazard.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Okay, so we have no problem. I don't know, does any of the commissioners have any questions with regard to seeing this is consistent with the harbor management plan because of those conditions, and that it raises above the floodplain, rather, and
Significant improvement.
significant
in water.
improvement with regard to water runoff on the system. Anyone would like to make that proposal? All right, go ahead and do that.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Any second on that one?
I'll second it.
Okay, all right. Was that Don?
That's
Okay,
Don Remsen.
okay, so moved. All right, and any, all those in favor then? Application? et cetera? And any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, oh, good. We'll mark that down. Okay, the next application is again Marion Avenue. This is the pre-application. Again, the applicant proposes to construct a residential dock consisting of a 78-foot long by 4-foot wide fixed pier supported by a 12 piles and 32-foot long by 3-foot wide ramp and a 78-foot wide float with a 7-foot by 3-foot landing support by 4 piers. Now, let me see if did I have that here? Yeah, let me get that up here. Here. And this is the dock.
It's the consultation.
That's this. Okay, here it is. Yeah. Let me get this up on the screen. Right here. Okay. All right, so here we're on Marion Avenue. Over here, they want to extend the dock out in this region here. Let me see here. Here's the lot, Norwalk Harbor. And
The last figure shows it on an aerial.
you're talking
Yeah.
here. Okay.
We always kind of include that because I really think it's good for the reviewer and for the DEP and us to see everything on an aerial. So we always include that as the last figure.
Okay. So what you're proposing is this is all new dock construction right here, extending it out into the harbor in this direction here. Any commissioners have any comment about that?
Need to see the relationship to mean low
Let's
water,
see.
John.
Let me see where we got that here. Let's see.
Going back.
Let me go back more. Right here.
Oops.
Okay, they have what? Mean high water level? 3 feet. I can't see this here.
So the fixed pier, Tom, goes to mean low water. Is that,
Well, right, this took a little bit of finagling, not finagling, I shouldn't say it that way, but we went through a number of revisions on that, because you'll see this triangular trapezoidal type of thing, which is defined by the mean low water line. That is a kind of a small depression. As you can see, it's around minus 4.2 and minus 5.5. So we're trying to figure out how to get the dock to be, useful. So we have these two mean low water lines that we're kind of working around, and this seemed like the best scenario. You know what I'm saying? There's this little depression in here, but that if you go off the site about 10 o'clock there where it says proposed 17 by 8, that continues on and then it stops. So there's really just this little depression. Yeah, that mean low water line is just kind of a little basin.
Wait, where are you talking about? Let's see. Whereabouts are you talking about now?
No, the mean low water line, you can see it as kind of its own polygon. And all I'm saying is that that continues just off the figure to the left there and kind of curls back around. So the mean low water line just kind of defines a little basin in there is all I was trying to get at.
Right in here.
Yeah.
here?
Oh, in this area right here.
Yeah, there you go. That one. Yes.
Have you talked about this with Deep yet, Tom?
Yes.
And they're okay with the way you've shown this over that depression then?
Yeah, they're right. They don't really care. What they care about is obviously, tidal flats and tidal wetlands, and they care about navigation, and they care about, riparian line issues. And all of those have been met. Whether the person has, the owner has a foot of water or 6 inches of water or 12 feet of water at low tide isn't really.
Yeah, we found that out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the dock here. So there's not going to be any boat or anything extension on this region here. Just to drop off or.
Well, what? No.
Right, because we have a boat lift there in the middle.
Right here. So the boat lift is going to be okay. Stationed in here. Okay.
Right, and that's just to keep the stern and the boat off at low tide,
Right.
off the substrate.
Okay.
What's the purpose of the float then, Tom?
Well, you don't want to come back in and
Yeah.
use the lift every time. You want to come in, use your boat, you get in and out of the boat, that kind of thing, and you go off and spend some time. Or if you want to launch some kayaks or whatever, you launch the float, and then you would bring your boat in at night or at storms or whatever. When you're done using the boat, it would go on the lift and go up, be elevated. But you might want to have access to kayaks and other things during the daytime.
Do you have any comments from the Bureau of Aquaculture on this yet?
I've sent it in twice. I have not received anything back yet.
All right.
Maybe you have no objection to it moving forward?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You certainly from this standpoint here, I didn't know.
But with the understanding that comments provided by
By the Shellfish Commission,
the
sure,
Bureau of
right.
Aquaculture will be addressed in the
In a
regular
later
process.
plan. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm on the Norwalk Shellfish Commission. I think I'm on next week. I have to figure out if I remember correctly.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be in touch with Steve. Steve Bartish, who's chair. I'll get in touch with him about that and discuss that. So, any objection to having this application certainly move forward with an application with the caveat that be reviewed by Shellfish and maybe Bureau of Aquaculture, especially in this particular area right in here. Any other comments? I know, Matt, did you have any?
No, I mean, looking at the one of the aerials just to see what the other neighbors in terms of depth of. Yeah. Just seeing what any of the other
Yeah, so this
areas.
is going to extend out just out in this direction right in here.
A little
Yeah,
farther.
there's an aerial last image.
The last one shows the location. No, keep going down. The last
Go
figure
down.
shows the aerial. There we go. Keep going.
Yep, keep going.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the one I was looking at more than anything.
Right.
Yeah, as long as Shellfish, if they can weigh in on this. I know
Yeah,
that there was one other we had already talked about to get their comments on.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we previously approved that one all the way at the bottom of the screen, at the bottom of that image, right, Matt? Didn't we?
I think there was one that we approved that hasn't been installed that's somewhere down in
that
between
same
those.
neck of the woods, right?
Yeah, it's I think it's actually just right about where that cursor is, somewhere in that area.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because that was initially a extremely long one that they tailored back.
Yeah, right. Okay. That's what I was thinking. Just because there's like a lot, obviously, the end of Marion is a beach.
Yeah, and if you see that one just below where the highlighted area, that's a boat lift currently. That you see that boat that's
over
currently
here.
right there. Yeah, that's a current boat lift.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Uh,
Anyone?
There's something else to add. Not on this one, John.
So, all right, Tom, I think, as I said, if anyone, any commissioners have any objection to having the application move forward, again, with the aspect of review by Shellfish and also aquaculture. And I think that was it as far as any other comments are concerned, if I could, you know. And we'd like to make a motion to that we have no objection to this application move forward
I'll make that motion.
Those conditions.
with those conditions. The conditions being as far as review by Shellfish and also aquaculture, as far as that particular area is concerned. Because I know Shellfish is particularly interested. That's been a sort of a main interest to Shellfish with regard to the shellfish boats going in and out of that area and making sure that the substrate is well tended to.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Yeah. So we put that in line of a motion, Chris, or what?
Yes. Motion to approve as long as they follow those contingencies that you just mentioned above and get approval from the Shellfish Commission.
All right.
I second it.
Who's that?
Don Remsen.
Don. Thank you very much, Don. So,
Yep, thanks.
so all those in favor with that
Aye.
motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstention? Any objections? Okay, so move forward on that one. Okay, great.
Great. With that, I appreciate your efforts tonight and their conversation. Thank you.
Before, Tom, you leave, just going back to the Charles Creek Navigation Fairway.
Oh, yes?
I will have to double check this, but I believe the navigation fairway that we included or we identified based on the dredging permit goes all the way up the creek, up to the upper extent. But we'll confirm that and get a copy of that COP.
COP permit, yeah.
But it does appear that it goes all the way up through the entire Charles Creek.
Okay, well, if it's located on the COP, I'll get that from DEP as well, just for our records. And if you want to send it to me as well, I appreciate it, but I need to look at the wording and stuff. So anyway, I appreciate the comment on that. Thank you.
And the number is COP 2000-073-SM.
2007-03
073
073.
SM.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, great. Okay, so our next application is actually from King Industry, and I think we've reviewed such an application several times in 2018 and again in 2023. So I think we move very quickly on this one. This was an application. It's a permit for King Industry. It's a notice of tentative determination to approve an application for a permit submitted by King Industry to discharge a maximum of 47,000 gallons per day of tank farm stormwater, cooling tower blowdown, and steam condensate from boilers and fire sprinklers testing wastewater to the Norwalk River from operations at their organic chemical plant manufacturing facility. The written comments that we have to make, I'm going to be, if we approve this evening, I have to be made by tomorrow because the due date for the comments is May 29th. So I'd certainly like to make a decision on this. The written comments will be directed to the environmental engineer. I have the address here. What we've done in the past, and I'll read. This is from the past 2 years. During its meeting on April 26th, this is from a 2023, and this is the exact same effluent that they proposed in the previous years from 2018 and 2023. The Norwalk Harbor Management Commission discussed the applicant's proposal. This is what I hopefully we can include in our review this time around. Following significant discussion, including discussion with the applicant's representative, the Harbor Management Commission approved a motion to inform DEEP that the proposed activity is consistent with the plan, provided all wastewater is treated by the applicant to meet the applicant's effluent limitations, and periodic monitoring of the applicant by the applicant is required to demonstrate that the discharge will not cause any adverse impacts on environmental quality, including water quality, and in the harbor. In addition, the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission agreed to provide the following comments. And the comments that we had made, there are two comments: is the protection and improvement of surface water quality is the basic objective of the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan, which establishes a number of policies to maintain and improve surface water quality in Norwalk Harbor and support all feasible measures to avoid, reduce, or otherwise mitigate point and non-point source pollution. Again, this is a comment. Among other things, the plan encourages the use of best available technology to improve improve and repair stormwater and wastewater collection facilities and call for monitoring of the water quality conditions. And DEEP's notice containing this proposal states that for each inch of rain received during the storm runoff, the applicant collects approximately 160,000 gallons of stormwater prior to treatment discharge into Norwalk Harbor. And so those were as I said, the applicant has informed the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission that the amount of stormwater collected is actually approximately 100,000 gallons. So they're certainly less than the DEP's required collection of 160,000 gallons of water. So King Industry has always been so what I'm looking for has always been reliable,
Good harbor citizen.
good harbor citizen, reliable on their treatment of water quality conditions in the harbor. So I certainly make a proposal that we go with basically the same recommendation based on the same proposal that they
With the
presented.
understanding that nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Well, nothing has changed from the permit to what we saw in 2023 from that application. Right. Does everyone feel okay with that? I'll make a motion that we go with the same recommendation that we had in the previous 2 years, 2018, 2023, and that the proposal that King Industry has made has not changed, and they remain the same as far as the quality of exchange of water and removal, I should say, the discharge of water into Norwalk Harbor, representing about 47,000 gallons per day that has been treated and processed on site.
I'll make that motion. That we approve it.
Anyone second that one?
Yeah, I'll second it, John.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. All right, all those in favor? All right, aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
abstentions? Any disapprovals? Okay, all right, we'll move forward with that one. Okay, so that's good. So I'll get that letter out this evening to them. Okay, moving forward, we have Tim Rath. I guess he's an agent for the next applicant. This is 22 Harbor View. It's a CAM application, and this is an applicant by Kevin Rath. Proposes to lift an existing single-family resident to prevent repetitive flooding within the same footprint. No additional construction will be carried out, and the house will be placed on piers to allow flood water to flow under the house, and the basement will be eliminated, as I understand from that. So I don't know, Tim, anything that you wanted to add to that as far as the house? You're going to be out of the floodplain and protect the house itself from flooding?
In the floodplain.
In the
but
flood-
above the
Above the
elevation.
floodplain, yeah, elevation, yeah.
Above the elevation.
I've been a resident in Harborview for over 40 years. This is my son's house. He lives right next door. He was born and grew up in Harborview.
Yeah.
We just want to make the house flood compliant. We've been through many storms over the years, and we're finally doing something about it. So
Okay.
I appreciate your time and consideration in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you for waiting through this, but
Yeah.
this would be consistent with the plan.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, as far as we're concerned, this is consistent with the plan based on your elevation of the house and removing it from harm's way as far as the flood construction of destruction by flooding.
It conforms to all FEMA requirements for elevation.
Right.
That's consistent.
Plan. Okay. So, as I said, we have no problem seeing this as consistent with the harbor management plan and to move forward with that application.
Thank you.
Anyone would like to make that motion? To move forward?
I'll make a motion.
All right,
I'll
thank you.
make a motion.
We need a second for that?
Yeah, I'll second it, John.
Thank you, John. Okay. All right. So all those in favor? Any,
Aye.
any objections? Any abstentions? And I hear an echo. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Tim. We're going to, as I said, we'll move forward with that and we'll get that out to do planning and zoning.
Thank you. And you have a good evening. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. Moving along. Okay. I heard the echo stopped. Oh, there we are. Okay. Yeah. All right. The next application is at 48 Calf Pasture Beach Road, which is Cove Marina. And this is a pre-application. And this is, I think, Mr. Hiltz. I think John is here. Yes. This is no Cove Marina. Let me see if I can get this out here. Let me see if I get this here. Here it is here. Here we are. Okay, let me get this up here. All right, so we're talking about North Cove Marine, and the applicant proposes to replace the deteriorated bulkhead, which is, let me see if I can get this here. All right, so we're talking about, we're talking about this bulkhead here. Is that correct? And
Yes.
right here, John, that's right.
Yeah.
And it says we propose replacing the deteriorated bulkhead and a seawall, and that seawall is down in the.
Basically there, yeah, John, it's kind of a hybrid.
It's right, the bulkhead and the seawall together with a new steel bulkhead using both barge-borne and land-based equipment to limit shoreline disruption. Sand will be dredged either with a barge-mounted dredge or land-based excavator with an extended boom, then placed into geotubes on the upland for dewatering. The existing timber wave wall will be removed using barge equipment with all debris collected and disposed of at a licensed upland facility for the new breakwater. Steel sheet pilings and structural supports will be installed with the barge, followed by a placement of geotubes and armored stone. I'll have to find out I'd like to know what armored stone is. And the clean granular fill within the breakwater footprint using both land-based and barge-borne methods. The project will conclude with the installation of a timber decking and railings by crews working from the upward land side. So as I understand, John, this is all going to be removed here. And we go down here. I guess this is the new construction in this area right here, John?
Exactly. A new bulkhead basically along the shoreline, replacing the deteriorated. And then the wave wall has historically been what you could term a maintenance proposition for the, it's constantly being compromised. It doesn't actually stop too much wave activity because of the openings. Furthermore, the type of construction allows for a lot of migration of sand, which is evident by the, accretion of it, along the face of the bulkhead or the, deteriorated bulkhead basically. And there's also a gap there between the wave wall and the shoreline, seawall. A lot of this stuff is basically remnants of what was torn down during Sandy. Families finally decided to, address, they have to address the bulkheading, obviously. And in years subsequent to Sandy, and also even before then, the Marina Basin immediately north of the wave wall is seeing the installation of larger floating docks to accommodate, larger vessels. And those vessels, need a greater degree of protection than what has historically been provided by the wave wall.
So basically, this is all gonna be all in here, this is all gonna be new construction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly. So basically, extend it, replace it with something more substantial. Your question about armor stone, it's basically riprap.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, so that, basically we're armoring the side of the, the new constructed, breakwater with some stone.
That's all in this area right in here.
Yes, sir. Exactly. So there, it's a hybrid design. Basically we didn't want to run steel both sides of it continuously, if not, if unnecessary. There's a couple reasons we decided to do that. Obviously the stone, is a hard surface that will be conducive to the propagation of oysters, recruitment and propagation of oysters. And there's that aspect that we like the litho, plus the, the engineer looking at it, like the ability to, kind of deflect some of the wave energy using those stones.
Right. So now the dredging, you're not being any serious dredging in this area here for the dredging is going to be where?
The dredging is basically landward of the, you can see the approximate limit of excavation. All right. That line right there.
All in here?
Yeah, exactly. That appears to be primarily sandy soils accreted. And, that's more conducive to what we're trying to do with, backfilling in the area between the the breakwater. That being said, and your input is obviously welcome here. We know in years past, sand is somewhat of a commodity. And we also know that, the beach, to the east, the city's beach to the east occasionally needs sanding. And we're more than happy to, enter into discussion regarding potential reuse of that sand or relocation. If it's, tested out to be, clean and positive, potentially it could be used, all in part, for beach nourishment along the, the calf pasture. This is, right now we have a situation where we have a lot of sand. We don't want to propose dredging it and doing in-water disposal. It's expensive, it's problematic, it's potentially, not going to fly for whatever reason. But that being said, we do have an option of putting it, between the sheet pilings and basically, for lack of a better analogy, making our own CAD cell at the site.
Oh, I see. Right. Well, I'll tell you, there's certainly precedent for what you talked about previously, because they did that with Hammonasset Bay. Sand from one location in the Army Corps, certainly with their dredging device with these clamshell barges that they had for disposal of clean sand on, that's been borrowed from one place and deposited on the other.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's not unprecedented.
No, I think this section right here is a steel. This is a steel right here, right?
But John, that steel section, is that replacing the existing timber?
Jeff, the existing timber is going entirely by, that's that, that bold segmented line that you can see on that plan. So that's the footprint of the timber that will be entirely removed. The landward half of the new breakwater will basically be the steel sheet pile on the, the north side with the armor stone on the south side for a certain length. And then beyond that length will be the, the two rows of steel sheet piling, out to the waterward terminus.
Have you talked about this with Deep, John?
Yeah.
And they're okay with the new?
They're okay with it, but they obviously have they want input from you guys and from Shellfish and from aquaculture. Aquaculture signed off on it. They didn't have any objections to it, but obviously, we're seeking your comments and Shellfish commissions as well.
Deep has previously expressed opposition to new, structural shore protection measures, but is the argument here that this is necessary to maintain an existing and protect an existing water dependent use? Is that why they're,
Pretty much. I mean, it's, there's the existing wave wall. Okay, so we're extending that. And it's basically in conjunction with, water dependent use, i.e. the marina. And, the existing uses and likely the expanded, the expansion of the larger floating dock systems, once this is in place.
had no
As
objection?
it stands now, the existing floats that you can see at the top of this drawing, they do experience,
You're
wave
talking,
activity.
right, you're talking here, John, yes.
Yes, sir. Exactly. So I mean, those are existing docks that, basically berth large vessels, and, it's been shown that, the wave wall, that, the length and also the design of the existing wave wall is insufficient to, stop, wave energies from hitting that and, disturbing, breaking things basically.
Well, I understand that this extends approximately twice as far into the harbor as the existing wave breaker. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is this going to be lighted at the end with a?
I'm sure I'm sure Coast Guard, I mean, this is obviously going to go to the Army. The Army will refer to Coast Guard. I'm sure the Coast Guard will want, adequate, safety, lighting, as prescribed by them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a view of a plan view that shows from a higher elevation.
I think the best is the assessors right there.
So we can just see the crook of the existing wave breaker.
Yeah.
Now, how far out into
Well,
the?
this is the existing wall right now, isn't it, right?
No, that's
No, that's the wave wall
Wait.
south of Shore and Country.
Oh, okay.
Where the yellow is
Oh,
down
right,
there.
I'm sorry, right in here.
That's the beginning of Charles
So it goes
Cove.
out. It goes. I can see the little crook in the existing.
Right there.
Exactly.
And so
Right
it goes
there.
out.
And faintly, you can see the channel, the dredge channel that leads up into Charles Creek as well.
Yeah.
So this goes out to the edge of the channel, which is out where we see those waves right there, right? I mean, this goes out.
Right about there. Yeah. Right.
Right about where. No.
This is going to extend out in this direction here, John, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but not quite that far, John, but out.
No, what I'm saying is it's gonna protect these, this mooring here.
Exactly.
Yes, but, so it goes out to within 30 feet of the existing channel, which is
Right.
a little further out than your little white arrow is, right?
Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to guesstimate from what you have here. I'm taking, here's the. Well, here's the docks here. That's gonna extend out. I don't have a distance measurement there.
650 feet is what it's labeled. And the current one's about 325 feet or some such distance.
Still shooting 650 linear feet.
Yeah, this is showing 30 feet from the channel.
30 feet from the channel.
Right here, yes.
Yes.
So that's a very big change in my experience out there.
Yeah, somebody will run into that.
I mean, it's huge. Again, it would be helpful to have a drawing that shows this in relationship to the beach on the other side and the rest of the harbor and the navigation channel, because it really doesn't tell the whole story, I don't think.
Well, can you see it aligned with the other docks that are currently there, right? Just forget like a rough perspective. If you zoom out there, John.
Right, you mean
We can see the little angle dotted line.
this here?
No, I'm saying, so you can see the end of the proposed pier, and then you can look vertically on that drawing to see where the docks are. So then if you look at the other drawing that they had with the yellow, that was the Google Earth topical thing. You can essentially line it up in your brain as to, so you can see it'll hit the end of that, the end of that float is about where it'll extend to.
I'm not sure what we're looking at here with this little jog here. I mean, this is what
The way it's going to extend, this little yellow tail coming out from the land.
Yeah,
talking about this here.
It'll go twice as far from the land as that.
Yeah,
there you
exactly.
go.
So I'm saying it'll line up as you look perpendicularly, as you look vertically down with the up end of the docks that are currently sitting there.
Yeah,
that's what it showed.
if you draw a line like before, if you draw a line from here all the way out to here, It's probably and right about in here.
I mean, with the 30 feet of the channel, you
I-
can see the
I
channel
can-
by the boat wakes in the,
I can put up a better image.
I
You
was
want me to
concerned
share?
about the need for,
I mean, definitely proper marking will be required for sure.
Could
Yeah,
you-
yeah,
could
so-
you
But
review,
I mean, the
Chris?
current thing is unlit and it's a wreck, so I mean, in terms of navigational hazards, you're improving the
Well,
waterway from what you currently have.
if it's
yeah, but
lit,
the other one doesn't extend out farther than a dock, which is very visible.
you see the dock, the top left of this picture here, the piling anchored floating dock. And if you follow that
You're talking,
piling anchored floating dock towards the stone breakwater, it really is all of this sheet pile is beyond that perpendicular line. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can I share an image? Can I share my screen?
I'll stop here. All right, Chris. Okay, go on.
All right. So this is
There you go.
it starts at this point here. There's an existing seawall and then all the aggregated sand and some old structure foundation. That's all coming out, right?
Yep.
So 650 feet from there out into the harbor is there.
There you go.
So this guy would hit it. I'm just saying there
Right.
people that's and people coming in making
Yeah.
the turn into the marina here. It's something they're going to have to be aware of and go around. And that's
Oh, no, it's definitely going to require,
It's going to have to be lighted.
Yes.
just light, that's not a question. It's, we have no problem with that. That's
Very
I
few
mean,
people cut that
let's put it
corner.
this way. Yeah. People going in there are the customers of the people who are building it, and they don't want to, do anything to their customers.
Yeah. And it's a lot, yeah, people tend to avoid that because the
The bar is there.
sandbar,
and then
yeah.
Where,
So when
where
you're
that boat
coming-
is going across, there's actually a little bit of a raised portion. There's some shoaling going on right there as well. And so very few people cut that corner, but it needs to be illuminated for sure.
Mhm.
That little behind that little boat we see going in there, is that the quick flashing red spindle?
What are you talking about, Alan?
That's
Or
here.
right behind the up.
That's here. That's the spindle.
Oh, that's the spindle? Okay, got it.
That's a sailboat.
Yeah.
I thought that might be the spindle.
No, that's your channel's down here. Turn in the channel.
Is that a vessel moving in toward the breakwater?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
So that
That's
Right.
up pretty far.
Yeah.
And John, you said you had discussions with the Corps and DEP on that too?
So far, just DEP.
Okay. And the Coast Guard and the Army Corps are going to be weighing in on that?
When you apply to the Army Corps, yeah, the Coast Guard will definitely,
automatically.
they'll have their say.
All right. Because, we're certainly all for, protecting wind and wave action again, but,
Well, since this is a pre-application, might the recommendation be to have no objection to it moving forward, but with
Right.
the understanding that during the regulatory process, additional consideration will be given to the proper extent of the structure so as not to adversely affect navigation
navigation,
patterns.
I think that,
well, there's navigation. There's the flow of water in and out of the harbor.
Mm.
I mean, there's a significant change to the aquadynamics, hydrodynamics going on here.
And that would be the other.
well, that's true
consideration.
too. Right.
I don't know who analyzes and approves that.
Well, what you're going to see, hopefully, actually, what we're hoping to see is the accretion of sand at the south face of this, which basically creates beach, not only for Ascension, but for also, associated with calf pasture.
Well, you're talking about the sand that's accumulated in this area right in here. I mean, I'm looking at, well, you can't see my marker, my cursor with John's, Chris's photo.
Right.
But that sand, that patch of sand that you showed us before, that's going to be excavated out in that area
Yeah,
there.
I mean, that's swept around from the east and into the basin there. That's where that's all from.
Yeah, well, you can see that why that occurs because of the breakwater that's right there that stops the wave. It seems to accumulate in that one area right there because of the wave action. That's correct.
Well, it's also the fact that there's a gap there, John. So I mean that historically that large concrete foundation, right, right at the south of the the project that had a building over it. And the building was partially on that foundation, was partially on piles, and there wasn't any big deal about having that there. It basically joined into the wave wall, but after Sandy, all that went, that was destroyed. So that's what we're looking at. What 13, 14 years of accretion as a result of stuff blowing past all that.
Well, wouldn't Deep, John, require you as part of the application to have an engineering analysis of the impacts?
Oh yeah, there's this isn't my design. This is in conjunction with a licensed engineer, Jeff.
I think that analysis would have to include a discussion of the potential impacts on navigation safety and also, the water flow conditions in the harbor.
Right. What do you call it? The erosion. Yeah, the
erosion. Potential impacts of the design.
Right.
It may, Jeff. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely because it's an erosion control structure. Particularly the bulkhead. The engineer has to address the questions pertaining to that. As far as the wave, resistance, yes, there's that. That has to be addressed as well. I know just based on my experience with the site over 40 years now, that the wave wall itself hasn't done what it was intended to do. And furthermore, the wave wall is a remnant of a time when the docks that you're looking at on this screen share weren't there. That area was basically not populated by any floating docks, and no vessels were berthed there other than occasionally, barges associated with other activities of the family's businesses.
Might a recommendation be that we recommend that the application include an engineering analysis of the potential impacts that we just talked about?
Yeah, that's I don't, again, they're going to have to be addressed in the DEP application.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's not up to us, I don't believe, to make an engineering analysis of it, but we would expect that if the commission agrees, that be part of the regulatory process.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's not an issue.
What's the goal here? Is it a wave attenuation? Is that what we're trying to deal with?
Basically, you're looking at, people parking, 100+ foot long boats in there, and they don't want to spill their champagne.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to impede navigation for those folks, though.
No, we're not proposing to impede navigation.
Well,
the area that you're looking at has historically been dredged previously by the family. The channel adjacent to this project is the channel that was created by the family. We're not going to impede the navigation in the channel. We're not going to impede, I could say to you right now, okay, we're not going to put this breakwater there, but we could put docks there. And that has historically been a dredged basin. It has water depths currently to allow for the placement of floating docks. Now, would you put floating docks there without this breakwater? I wouldn't recommend it, obviously, because you're just going to have damage upon damage. That's the point, is that they're trying to basically, secure their basin in such a manner as to allow for the expansion of, water dependent use, i.e., the marina.
I'm not inclined to give the family credit for 600 feet off the shoreline.
Well, in a way, I tend to agree with you on that, Chris, because I'm looking at the size of that bulkhead, that breakwater right there. That extends quite a bit. I mean, why? Well, just looking at the distance of that all the way onto the middle of the harbor. Why not, for example, maybe 3/4 of that? You're still protecting that marina from any wind and wave action. Even if you truncate that to 3/4 of the length that it is right now, not the full length that it is right now.
Again, it's they're the goal is to maximize the area in which they can place floating docks that will accommodate the vessels that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, we could see another. We have this little dock rectangle. We could have another one waterward of that, correct? Behind that breakwater? Or we see
I'm sorry, I don't follow, Al.
No, the little bit of number of fingers we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a dozen slips there. We could even duplicate that again waterward by coming out further behind that.
I mean, they could
that
definitely,
bulkhead, right?
that's the goal, is that, they can't expand that any further without doing something to protect.
So they'd like to come out further into the
They want to make that a utilizable area for larger vessels. Exactly.
All right.
It's a huge project.
Yeah, it's I don't disagree. It's big. I mean, but it's a big marina. I mean, look, zoom out, look at the marina in entirety. It's a big marina. And I agree, that it's large, but at the same time, I also look at the size of boats that we're starting to see more and more and more of in these areas, and they are a lot bigger than what we have historically seen.
I don't really object to that. I just trying to put it in scale in my brain. It's a big.
You worked out in the regulatory process.
That's what I was going to say, but we have to. I would be interested in see what the Corps says, what the DEP says with regard to the length of that dock too. Let me.
You see that now? I put up the chart. So we're talking about going into 7-foot deep water here.
Trying to go within 30 feet of that channel.
Here's the shoal somebody else was pointing out before, and there's the sandbar that comes off the beach here.
Yeah,
they have to show.
There's the existing wooden wave breakers there.
That's going to come very close to the federal channel.
Right. So the entire harbor drain. Well, this is mud flats here, right? So most of the channel is here, and we're blocking.
That
comes out right. Yeah,
you can see the wave breaker right there.
Well, right where the number 7 is, right there is going to be the end of that breakwater.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm not just saying this because I'll have to tack around it in my sailboat when I come in. Although that, just to
yeah.
I mean, I agree.
All biases on the table, but
everything has to be addressed. You're absolutely right. I mean, any impacts to navigation, particularly if you come close to the federal channel or even the setback of the federal channel, it's a Section 408 review. All that stuff. It doesn't just get rubber stamped. I mean, it all needs to be addressed. But at this point, DEP is, I'm going through the DEP's procedures. You guys are next on the list, and that's why we're here tonight.
And one request could be to provide another drawing, John, if you haven't, showing the relationship of it to the federal channel, because
what I can probably do that's best, Jeff, is actually show it. Have the surveyor.
Yeah.
We have the coordinates. We can prepare a large scale drawing and do that. That's fine. I mean, again, I think the thing you can look at here and now is the fact that it's 30 feet from the Charles Creek channel, which you have information on, and that's basically shown on the survey that, this was prepared by. But again, if you need more information, that's fine.
Well, that's perhaps maybe we can table that application maybe till next month. Do we see a revised plan, in relation to the Federal Navigation Channel?
If you don't mind, John, if you can just shoot me an email saying what, give
Okay.
me specifics or something that, happy to prepare it.
All right.
Yeah.
Relationship to the federal channel.
All right. So anything else you want to add besides relation, Chris, Matt, anything you want to add in relationship to let's say the bulkhead to the federal channel? Anything else that you want to might add? Anything, Chris? No.
It should show it should show the depths. And so is this going to be sheet piling all the way out? Is it so that it's going to be water surface to the bottom? Is this going to be, how high above mean high water does it extend?
That's shown in the section views.
Okay.
Let me see here. All right. So, I mean, well, these maps and these sketches don't really provide any information.
There's the section.
That's the bulkhead.
That's the bulkhead that goes, yeah.
And then if you continue to stroll, John, I think you'll see the section views for the breakwater.
Then down more?
Yep.
Yeah, right here. Oh, I see. These are small armor staircase. Okay, yeah.
Right. So that's the scroll back up. It's more the part that extends out into the. So it's.
No, that is the bulkhead along the shore. That is not the view.
Oh, the bulkhead along the shore. So what's the part past the armored part?
Roll the other way, please.
Down.
Down.
There
Next.
we go.
There you go.
This here?
No, that's actually the survey which everything was based on.
Well, that's it. All we have.
You went past it, John.
Past it? Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go. Stop
right
there.
here. Okay, right.
There you go.
So this is the area here you plan to put all the clean fill between the two double bulkhead here.
Exactly.
I got you.
Is the top of the top going to be a promenade for the?
It's going to have a deck on it.
A public access deck, or is that a maintenance area?
I don't see why it wouldn't be a public access deck.
Well, liability is one reason. I'm just curious.
Well, code compliant railing.
Okay. But it's sheet, so it's corrugated sheet piling, or H.
It's a distance.
Two parallel rows of sheet pile, exactly.
Yeah.
Tied together.
And all that fill that you plan to dig out, we're going to be actually excavated into this area right in here.
It'll, we don't know quantities, and obviously, John, if there's material that we can't utilize in the geotube, we have to think, we have to dispose of elsewhere. But the anticipation is that primarily the backfilling will be excavated material within geotubes placed inside the breakwaters.
I got you. Oh. All right. Well, that's certainly reinforcing that structure right there. There's no question about that.
Pending the additional
information. Yeah. All right. So we'll do that, John. We'll get together a response to you with regard to future plans, and we'll table this till next month.
Okay.
We'll put in some of the requirements as far as the length of the breakwater and other distance from the channel line, Federal Navigation Channel, and as I said, we'll send you those comments.
I appreciate it. And if you think of anything else, throw it in there.
Will do.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, John, for the other stuff.
Good evening.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Just to note this, it said it would be roughly 6.5 feet high, 5.5 feet high at low tide, at high tide, and 12 feet of corrugated steel exposure, 300-foot long wall
at low tide.
At low tide. So it's not just going to be a hazard. Well, nobody's going to hit it in the daytime because it's going to be really big and ugly and covered with shit. But
Well,
but
maybe.
at night I worry about, people do stupid things in boats at night.
Well, maybe with the proper lighting and flashing
Light's going to be 15 feet up in the air at low tide.
Yeah.
It's also going to be good for advertising, that we can rent that space out for signage at low tide. Could be lit.
It's a billboard? Yeah.
A billboard. It'd be absolutely fabulous. Welcome to Norwalk.
Or just regular old graffiti.
Yeah.
Well,
Alan's Clam Shack.
Yeah. I hope not, but okay. All right, John, we'll get the information out to you. And no, thank you very much for all that.
Not a problem. Have a good evening.
You too now, John. Okay. All right, now, all right, we have one, well, actually we have a couple, one other thing. We have 9 Nycla Terrace. This is a COP, and this is, the agent is Race Coastal Engineering. And this is an applicant by Tom Jetterbach, but this application actually is seeking approval to retain the repairs that have already been made to an existing lower concrete seawall. And there was no changes were made to the adjacent upper stone and mortar wall or revetment. And the original lower seawall, which is approximately 43 feet long and about 3.75 feet wide and 2.75 feet high, had significantly deteriorated. And the repairs were consistent. Repairs consisted of installing a steel reinforcement grid on top and on top and waterward faces and secured with dowels, followed by a placement of plywood and timber forms and pouring of approximately 7.5 cubic yards of concrete to fill the cracks and the voids. Dimensions were estimated from site observations and photographic determination by Race Coastal Engineering, and the work was completed using hand and power tools. So they're explaining what they've done before. And this is basically they're requesting a COP based on previous violation. The DEP did issue a notice of violation to them. And I think they did, again, I don't know if any from Race is here, but they did.
Someone from Race.
Is someone from Race is here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. So let's see, where's that? Let me see if I can get that. Where is that? Oh, here it is here. Okay, let me, so basically what you're requesting is that we bring everything in compliance based on the previous work that was done. Now, according to Deep, they were issued a notice of violation and a fine was paid.
I don't believe there was a monetary aspect at the moment. The owner did the work under the impression that it was maintenance, and Deep felt it was more of a COP. So they were just requesting a COP after the fact.
Because we do have a notice of violation here. And what they pointed out is that what the notice of violation states is that within 90 days of issuance of this notice, please submit a certificate of permit, which you're doing right now, the application to seek authorization to retain the repairs completed to the existing stone and concrete knee wall. The COP application materials can be downloaded and they give you a website. Please be advised that you will need to sign a consent order and pay a civil penalty for failure to obtain an appropriate authorization prior to completing the work. And they pointed out that not later than 21 days after issuance of this notice, they want you to submit an enclosed compliance statement implying how you propose to bring the site into compliance. And that's what you're doing now, right?
Yeah.
We received a note today from Deep that would indicate that a fine has been paid and is put into that supplemental environmental project fund.
Yeah, I believe it was actually they had to pay double the COP fee, one for the COP and one as a fine. Now that I recall.
Yeah. I wish we, too bad. We wish we knew that was beforehand because we usually request that those fines that come in that regard be used expressly for, for Norwalk Harbor use.
To follow up on this, some time ago, we had written to Deep asking that notices of violation that are issued by Deep, a copy is sent to the Harbor Commission at the same time as it goes to the applicant. But we haven't. That's not happening now, John. We might want to follow up on that,
right?
So that we get the copy of the notice of violation when it's issued.
Right. So as far as handling this particular application, I know the Harbor Management Commission doesn't give after the fact approval, for that, but the DEP has, wants to move forward with this. So exactly what what we should do in this case here is, you know,
Well, the policy is fairly simple in the plan that we treated violations that occurred prior to the harbor management plan different than violations that occurred after the plan. And we for violations after the harbor management plan, we wanted to be sure that there was some sort of compelling reason why the after the fact approval shouldn't be granted. In any case, if we had no objection to this, we want to make clear that this isn't a precedent for signing off on other future violations.
But the repair process does certainly reinforce and improve, you know, the area there for against, you know, certainly wind and wave action.
How was the violation identified? Does DEEP normally do inspections, and this was just a random inspection that they happened to notice, or was there some other issue on the property or nearby that brought DEEP to the site?
A neighbor brought it up to DEEP.
Oh. All right. Well,
so that really the compelling reason to have no objection to this is that the work has already been done.
It's already been done.
You really can't take it down.
No,
But,
where's and certainly it's been an improvement, you know, as far as what they did, you know, as far as the construction is concerned. You know, if you look at
what's the COP fee? You said this is double the fee, or the fine was you know, the equal to the fee.
I believe it's $600.
It's not much of a fine, really.
The main issue I believe with the that DEEP was notified about was the person thought this was a entirely new structure.
Well, if we look at our site here on the screen, that this is what was done here, right? You had rebar all in this area right here, and then you filled up the little gaps here with concrete.
Yep. Yeah, it was approximately 6 to 8 inches
Right.
of resurfacing and refacing.
Right. And so I guess the neighbor thought this was all new construction here, but it was really,
It is all new construction.
well, it's a new construction. It was recap on top of what was already there. They raised it.
Yeah, and again, this is the lower section, which
Right.
doesn't have as much effect of raising as if it were the upper section there.
Right. So this was a section here that was reinforced here, basically down in here.
When a contractor does the work like this or is retained,
To get a permit.
do they not ask for a copy of the approval, or how does that proceed? When you do work, or you know, if you would design this and you would, I'm just curious, does the contractor care if there's a permit issued, or they just
goes ahead and does the work?
Again, they were doing it under the assumption it was maintenance, which would have been included in other permits where the wall was retained.
Typically, a contractor is responsible for getting all required permits for a project like this.
Right.
But
Yeah, building permits and anything like that would be handled on the contractor, typically not by us. But again, since the wall is included in a historic permit application, the owner just assumed he could do this minor repair as part of maintenance, as it was deteriorating.
I'm not looking at this as minor repair. This looks like it's major repair. You know, it's quite a reinforcement of the existing structure.
Yeah, most of the reinforcing is just to ensure that it stays together and ties it together. Because
Right.
obviously, if you just pour the concrete on top, it'll just
Right, and the rebar is there to remain you know, certainly to help the reinforce the concrete. That's all poured in there. It's both the fascia and also the top of the wall itself. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
was it a 2-inch overlay all around?
This, I
That's
think it
probably
was,
more than 2 inch, probably 4
yeah,
inch.
I think it was 6 inch. Wait a minute.
It was approximately 6 to 8 inches around,
Right.
you know, 3 inches of cover, and then 3 to 4 inches from the bar to the existing.
all that framing in the next picture, is that for a deck above this, or is
Yeah,
that,
well, this is where they all filled in, Alan, right in
I
here.
don't know, the slide below this? What's all the timber?
That
Is
was
that
just to
just
hold the
forming?
forms in
It's
place.
form work for the
Fine.
concrete.
Fine.
There should be some photos of it post
Great.
construction. I believe at the first photos, and
Oh, the very first,
yeah,
and this in here.
this was an existing. If you go up a little bit more, this is what it looks like now. There's a couple more up higher as well.
Okay.
As you can see, it's not a significant change.
No, this is all the new construction here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the difference in the concrete texture here. Yeah. All right. Well, like I said, you know,
I think if
Would-
if you have no objection to this, you have to have the statement that it's not to set a precedent for, you know, for
well, that's what we did. You know,
dealing with future and
we don't use that after the fact, you know.
and that we would again reiterate our statement to Deep that we'd ask Deep to provide notices of violation to
include
to the Harbor Commission when they're issued.
Well, that's what we've done in the past.
And the reason for doing that was that there was a provision, and now the money goes directly into that supplemental environmental project fund. But there was a provision where the applicant or the person fined could agree to direct the
funds to their home harbor.
Funds to the harbor in which
The violations took place.
Now we're told that we have an opportunity to apply to that supplemental environmental project fund directly, but
that has not happened.
but there's no remedy now to, you know, to say.
But in any event, all right.
But that's
all right. So, all right, we can. All right, we'll try to. Well, we can address that. You know, as far as the overall application, as I said, we've already been in touch with the DEP with regard to the violation notice, and
don't even have to say no objection. We provide comment, express our concern.
It's it,
and then reiterate that, you know, what we'd like the notices to go directly to the committee.
Well, that we've done that in the past, and we've not gotten any action from DEP on that. But hey, there's no sense on.
Well, that's again.
Yeah, we can still continue that and keep that enforced, but reinforce that statement. But
so maybe we don't say it.
You
We
know.
don't say anything about no objection.
All right.
I make a motion that we have no objection to this.
Like again, I true have no problem with that, you know, Chris, you know, but no objection with the idea that, you know, the work has already been done, number one. The other comment that we were going to make, and we made this comment before, is that any fines that are issued, that the Harbor Commission be notified of that fine, and that fine could be used, you know, for express use in Norwalk Harbor at the request of the applicant itself. But now it goes into the general fund, and now we would then have to apply for any funds that.
I understand that.
But that was the only comment that I was going to add to that, Chris. That was the only thing.
We're 2 hours into this meeting and we haven't even gotten reports yet, so I'm just trying to be expeditious.
Yeah, all right. So if anybody has any objection to that, I certainly would have no problem with. If any of the commissioners have any problem with, you know, having no objection to this application, with the idea that. Now we'll just make comment to the DEP with regard to the types of fines that are issued and how that fine is utilized. That has nothing to do with the project itself. All right. If anyone's had no objection to that, we'll just move forward with our next series of proposals here, which amounts to the POCDs that we have.
Chris, did you have a motion?
I had a motion. If we need to. I did make a motion. If we don't need to vote on this, and then ignore my motion, but
the motion was just to have no objection with the project.
Yes, that's the motion.
All right. Do we have a second on that?
We need a second.
Need a second on that one?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, Jeff. All right, thank you. So, all right, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions on that one? Okay, we'll put something together, and I'll submit that. Okay.
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, let me see here. Let me see if I can get this up here too. Let me get out of here. Stop share. The last two actually, these are planning and zoning referrals that we were asked to comment on. The first one we could probably dispense with very quickly, and that was the two sections dealing with, let me get it here. Oh no, do we have Nathan Hill? Did we discuss Nathan Hill Drive?
No, we didn't do that yet. Is that,
Oh my God. This is Nathan Hill Drive. Is Tom Ryder still here?
was that on the agenda of the commission meeting, John?
Yeah,
The published meeting, the published agenda?
yeah.
Where? Which,
This was 10 Nathan Hill Drive. It's a COP.
Norwalk Boat Club, is that?
No.
It's not?
All right, let me see. What the heck? Oh my God. All right. We have one more application, guys, to go, and then the two POCDs, unless you want to hold it off. What time is it now? We're dealing 8 o'clock here. My God. All right. Well, here, maybe we can,
Just a minute, John.
let me see, where's 10 Nathan Hill Drive? Let me get this up here.
Hey, John, I'm looking at the agenda. I don't see 10 Nathan
I
Hill
don't see
Drive.
10 Nathan Hill Drive either.
Not on the agenda, John.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh,
John.
okay. All right, good. All right. I think I had that extension on it. Okay. All right, good. All right. I had that, I must have included that here. Why, I'm not exactly sure. I had that in my overall. Okay. All right, Nathan Hill Drive is not on the agenda, Chris, Jeff?
No,
Okay.
it is not.
All right, all right, then that remains then the last two are the POCDs that we had looked at. The first one was in the minutes of the last meeting, and where we were asked to respond to, let me see if I can get that up here. And what we're asking for, let me get my share. Where the hell's the share thing here? Right, sharing. And we're here. Okay. All right, this is the document here. We were asked, we had, this was in the minutes here, and all we were asking for is to add the comments that I hadn't read. For those of you that had a chance to read it, these were in the 2 minutes that we agreed upon here. The section was, both were in table one of page 4, page 11. This blue line, or the blue line here is the proposal that the planning and zoning had, and the red is what I thought actually we had agreed upon, the application review committee agreed upon, would add to that statement. And so the statement would read, this municipal surface parking lot is located along the Norwalk River and serves the surrounding retail shops. The site may be suitable for future development, particularly given its location in an active area. Future development would likely need to include municipal parking to meet the existing parking needs. And I thought the commission would add, well, actually, the application review committee actually agreed upon, and suitable site design that reduces impervious surfaces, incorporates stormwater management strategies, and prevents pollutant discharge into Norwalk Harbor and supports the long-term climate adaptation. That's what we plan to add for that one. And basically the same thing for the other table that we had. This large municipal surface parking lot is located near Norwalk River and Irving Freeze Park. It's a pocket park and serves the surrounding commercial area. The site is potential for future redevelopment. Future redevelopment would likely need to include municipal parking to meet existing parking needs of this active commercial area, blah, blah, blah. He said, in addition, future development would need to incorporate a modern drainage infrastructure and low impact and development techniques that will not only enhance environmental performance, but also position the project as a model for ecologically responsible urban redevelopment in a coastal and water adjacent community. That's what we thought. I just said we would add and send to planning and
I
zoning.
have something I'd like to say, John.
And 411, John, you said suitable site design. Did you mean suitable or sustainable?
Where?
411 in the red, up 4-11.
Oh, 4-11.
Yeah.
Did I say sustainable? What did I say?
You said suitable.
Oh, I'm sorry, sustainable. Yeah.
Okay.
sustainable site develop, yeah. So these were the two proposals in the,
Did I make a comment? John?
I'm sorry, Jerry, go on. Yeah.
Are you finished? or-
Yeah,
I have something I'd like to say about this, sort of an overarching comment regarding the Affordable Housing Action Plan. And last night, maybe you know, there was a bill passed in the House of Representatives, HB 5002,
right.
and it's referred to as the Housing Omnibus Bill. And it's quite controversial because it provides, as I understand it, quotas for each community to meet fair share housing quotas. And it provides for as of right residential development in commercial zones and no parking requirements. It effectively eliminates, planning and zoning hearings and approvals in certain circumstances.
Right.
And the concern that many people have is that this initiatives and goals of increasing housing are superseding or given higher priority than environmental conservation goals. And I think this is a big deal, and it is, I know, in a lot of communities. So my thought was, and just as other commissions and other towns have looked at these affordable housing plans, that it's worth making a comment that for example, within the coastal management area, the affordable housing plan shall not alter, supersede, or diminish environmental protections, including floodplain management requirements and coastal area management requirements. And that affordable housing initiatives should not diminish an effective city program of corrective and preventive measures for reducing flood damage. And then we get into the big issue that a number of people see is, and it's how the concept of resiliency is applied. And my experience and that of others is that the purpose of resiliency planning is to reduce the vulnerability of existing development, accelerate recovery, and this is as it applies to floodplain management, but it's not for the purpose of arguing for or supporting additional floodplain development. That's a misuse of the resiliency concept. And you hear attorneys now and developers arguing that we can build more in the floodplain because it will be resilient. And I believe, and others believe that that's a misuse of the policy. So in other locations, commissions are making the statement that proposals that would increase residential density in the designated flood and erosion hazard areas are inconsistent with sound planning for increased coastal resilience and basic principles for good floodplain management. And whether you want to make that statement, which is what we did in the course of looking at the rezoning effort, when it was proposed to rezone the Water Street area for the highest density residential development.
Oh, that's right. We went through that.
But in any instance, my recommendation is that, in addition to what John has just talked about, to make a statement that, again, within the coastal area, the goals of affordable housing shall not diminish existing environmental protections, including the floodplain management protections and the coastal management protections. At least being on the record of that. Well, anyway, that's my comment and recommendation.
Well, these two areas right here deal specifically with municipal parking. Now, they weren't addressing building in that particular area, although they talk about this future redevelopment in the area, but it wasn't dealing specifically with the municipal parking area, which they are doing here.
But it's part of the Affordable Housing Action Plan.
Well,
and that's my thought, John, is to make a statement that the goals of affordable housing shouldn't be given precedent or priority over the environmental protection goals and also the public safety goals of flood hazard.
Well, I think we've made those statements too when we dealt with the Water Street project.
Well, this is a different one.
Different, yeah. But it was also with the POCD in that particular area.
Yeah, well, that's my comment. And talking about this with CIRCA, the Yukon program, Connecticut Institute of Climate and Resilience. I can't remember the acronyms, but they have the same perspective, that the purpose of resilience is not to provide more development in the floodplain.
Oh, that right.
But that's, again, it's up.
Well, but how
Is there a question to be called here or a vote to be taken on?
Well, no, we have to. Well, right now, Alan, what we do is the issues are in red right now that we had sent around last month for review for this month.
Right. So do we have any feelings from commissioners about moving forward with these, approving them or changing them?
Well, this is actually from our ARC committee. These were also reviewed by Chris and by Matt. So this is from the ARC review.
Right.
Which is being presented to the full commission for approval.
Right.
Is there anything?
So can we move on with that?
Yeah, all right. If everyone's in agreement with these statements right here, we'll move forward and I'll send those to planning and zoning.
But not adding anything that.
You don't want to add anything about resiliency.
I'm asking you,
Well, I want to get the feel from the commission, Matt or Chris.
I don't have any more comments.
does anybody have a comment or want to add to what John has written here? Then if
right.
not, I would make a motion, John.
All right. So
Ask for a motion.
I'd like to ask for a motion for accepting what we have. This is in the red font here and be included with a letter to planning and zoning.
Second that.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Okay. The next, maybe a little bit more involved, but this involved, again, planning and zoning's amendment for referrals to zoning regulations in the text amendment. And they gave us specifically reference to these articles 4, 6, and 9 in this dealing with constructions within specific flood hazard zone to include the following amendments. And if you can see the outline right here. So this was the planning and zoning in the black font right here is the planning and zoning's statement that they wanted, that was incorporated in their document here. And what was down in here was reviewed by the ARC committee with regard to what recommendations that the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission would make. And so what is in blue here, and I can go through that, would replace, not replace, but would be recommended in placement of the construction, residential construction that they have shown over here. And what we had recommended that goes in place of what they have here, that all such activities occurring within the coastal boundary shall be consistent with the policies of the Connecticut Coastal Management Act and the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan where applicable. The project shall be designed to avoid and minimize adverse impacts to coastal resources, including tidal wetlands, coastal waters, beaches and dunes and floodplains, and shall include erosion and sedimentation controls per the Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control. And then 3, all design elevations and siting must consider the most current projections of sea level rise as published by the Connecticut Institute for Resilience and Climate Adaptation.
That's what it would.
Yeah. And applicants are encouraged to elevate structures beyond minimum base flood elevation requirements to account for the anticipated lifespan of the building. So that would be our addition to that comment there. And there was also an insertion below that for development within the Norwalk Harbor area, including all zones adjacent to navigable waters, enclosed areas below the base flood elevation plus 2 feet shall be sited and designed to preserve public visual access to the waterfront where applicable, practical through application to appropriate building scale, orientation, and vegetation management, prevent discharge and untreated stormwater runoff into coastal waters through the incorporation of best management practices, such as impervious paving and rain gardens, garden buffers, vegetation buffers, and on-site stormwater retention. So that would be in place of their section 6. The next section was an amendment. This is on section 12 they had. This is dealt with if a breakaway walls or lattice work was inserted in their area. This is planning and zoning's comment that they had here that they asked us to comment on. And the committee thought that this would be the additional recommendation that in accordance with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act and the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan, all structures within the coastal hazard zones shall be designed to minimize disturbance of natural shoreline processes, including sediment transport and tidal flow, placement of fill, breakaway enclosures, which this section is all about, or accessory structures shall not obstruct drainage, impede stormwater flow, or contribute to erosion adjacent properties or public trust lands. all applications for construction or substantial improvement in the coastal hazard zone within the jurisdiction of Norwalk Harbor shall be reviewed for consistency with the harbor management plan by the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission prior to the issuance of any zoning or building permit. And that would be for that section 12. And this is now for section 9. They asked us to review. This dealt with half-story buildings. I'll show you here. This is their recommendation in red. This is all new that they propose. What we're recommending from the Art Committee is that in the coastal boundary in the coastal boundary and within the special flood hazard areas, a half-story located below the base flood elevation level plus 2 feet shall not be designed or used as a furnished habitable area. That's basically taken from their verbiage. Such spaces must comply with FEMA technical bulletins 1 and 2 and shall not compromise required flood openings, dry, wet, flood proofing, and structural integrity. And I put here what FEMA Title 1 basin title bulletins 1 and 2 dealt with, and that the technical bulletin 1 dealt with openings and foundations and walls enclosures, and the FEMA technical bulletin 2 dealt with flood damage resistant materials was required to build that construction. So that's what was added there. And then there was another section that was added. This is the planning and zoning. It was dealt with unfinished areas. This other one dealt with finished habitable areas. And this dealt with amendment to the story of the story of the building. And the recommendations that we have are in blue, and what we should add, what we thought we would add, is unfinished areas located within the coastal boundary or the Norwalk Harbor Management Area shall not contain plumbing fixtures, fuel storage, or other potentially polluting equipment. All building materials must be flood resistant and compliant with the applicable harbor management plan policies. Storage of hazardous materials or any use that risks water pollution during flood events is prohibited. And then dealing with furnished or habitable area, the recommendation that we would have in place of what the planning and zoning has, furnished habitable area below the basement flood area plus 2 feet is prohibited within special flood hazard areas, coastal hazard zones, and then within the coastal boundary. The inclusion of such areas is designed shall not be deemed non-compliant with both local floodplain regulations and Connecticut Coastal Management Act. That's it. And then the last one is that dealing with the story level, dealing with the level of this building itself. A basement is a story when the ceiling height is more than 3 feet. This here was redesigned. If you read through the statement that the planning and zoning had, it really didn't make that much sense as I saw it anyway. But so this was revised to mean the basement is a story where the ceiling height is more than 3 feet above the finished grade measured along the principal frontage of the structure and or building, except that within the special flood hazard areas, unfinished areas below the lowest floor is not a story, provided that more than 50% of the floor to ceiling height is below the base flood elevation. And that's, again, thought we would add to that comment to there. And other than that, those are all of the comments that we would have for that particular POCD. That's Alan, you're muted.
That's why you can't hear me. So did your group review?
Yeah.
I
I had Chris and Matt. We all reviewed this, and those are the comments that we came up with.
And is it your group's recommendation that the commission accept?
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're moving forward. Yeah. So as opposed to what we did last month, those were statements that I took upon myself to review. In fairness, it was not reviewed by the Art Committee. That's why we tabled it, and the full commission had full reserve of that. And now this time here, all three of us reviewed this particular document here.
I can't help myself. Now, so there's a little bit further up. They talk about attics, but we're talking about it being below the flood zone.
Yeah. Where is that, Chris?
Well, they talk about the roof and the rafters, and yeah, this one.
Half story, yeah. Well, this is what they have. They talk about it.
This is for attics, though.
It says the level within a building or structure, which may include a ceiling whose height measured below the floor and the bottom of the roof rafters does not exceed 7 feet, right, blah, blah, et cetera. This is right here, right?
Yeah, dormer. This is for an upper. This is for upper stories. So talking about base flood elevation is kind of.
Well, it says here. Let's see. The roof. Let's see. Whose total floor area does not exceed 50% of the floor below and must be set back a minimum of 5 feet. All right, from all building surfaces. Okay. I took it to mean, as I said, they're talking about. At least that's what we talked about. In the coastal boundary and within the special flood hazard areas, a half story located below the floodplain. All right. Okay. This includes what a half story represented right here.
Right. Well, it's a kind of a moot point because the whole because it's for an upper floor. It's for an attic. It's for if you build a half story above an existing structure below the roof rafters.
Okay. All right. That's that. All right. But I was taking this as an existing, for example, what was considered a half story. All right.
Right. It's more, half stories are more like when you want to build an addition, like you can't go above 2 stories, but you can do 2.5 stories in a lot of zones in the city. So it's when your attic level is, you want to make your attic level occupiable space.
Okay, we can just, as I said, we all looked at it. We can delete this. There's no problem. I have no problem.
Yeah, I don't think it applies to this.
Okay. Okay, we can. I mean, as I said, I have no problem with deleting this one section.
Okay, yeah, that's my suggestion.
Okay. All right, then. Well, then we'll make, as I said, we'll make a proposal that that what we have here, what is in blue, except dealing with a half story that we have here. Where is it here? No, where is it? Right here.
That's right there.
This half story then will be deleted from our comment then to P and Z. Any objection? Or what?
A motion, John, or?
Yeah, all right. Chris or Matt, you want to make it, or I'll make a motion either way to accept our proposal that we have forward to the commission. With the elimination of the half story comment.
Yeah. I'll make that motion.
All right.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. All right. And all those in favor then?
Aye.
And no abstentions? Any opposed? Okay. So moved. And I think we are completed. We're done.
Dr. Pinto, should we take it's 8:28. Should we break for 5 minutes?
Well, it's up to you, Alan. As I said, I have no problem. I'm just about talked out myself, but
and I apologize. I have to leave at 8:30, so apologies.
No worries.
Well, let's keep moving.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I have no problem myself, Alan, with forging ahead.
I'm just checking, make sure if we still have in 6, we have Don, so we still have a quorum. So is everybody game to just go on without a break?
I'm
good.
Trying to get this done.
Yeah. Okay,
as fast as we can.
Thank you, Lori. In the interest of time, I'm not going to have a report tonight, except Jeff Stedman, are you prepared to talk about today's meeting with the concerning the Veterans Park dock?
I'm not, no.
Did you attend the meeting? I will just talk a little bit about that today. The Veterans Park dock, we had a meeting today. They in sending out their bid package, they had not copied me in all of the drawings and such, so I had a lot of comments, and it turned out that they had moved one step beyond without letting the Harbor Commission know. So I have received a secondary set of the current drawings that are going to out to bid, which I will review tomorrow and make any comments. My only interest in this is accommodations for our mooring fields, that we have adequate places to put dinghies, load our boats that are on their city moorings, or our city moorings, and so forth. So I will do that tomorrow when I have a chance to look at those prints. And the plan is to get this project started this fall, and with a spring completion in by May. So it's very.
Were you able to give? I'm sorry, I wasn't able to attend. I got overbooked at my paying job. Were you able to give them my comments?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And we'll see what again. There's nothing had changed from the old drawings. What the drawings you had as well, Chris. So
Right.
a lot of things had been improved. They just neglected to copy us.
I think they screwed up one of the slips where they put a kink in the dock.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
So that will require some. The other stuff was, more minor about placing cleats and what they should pave in the parking lot, but
Right.
Yeah.
And clearly, everybody involved with the meeting had very little to understanding of what happens operationally in a facility like that. It was really all about, they were all interested about the parking lot and the grading and the bulkhead and things like that. So it was kind of disappointing in that regard. But I will, in the interest of time this evening, I'm going to just stop there and say I will review those drawings, and I'll share them, Chris, with you the way I did last time.
Sure, that'd be great.
Or the whole commission, if you all want to get a few megabytes in your inbox.
Is this part of application review, Alan, or what?
No, this is the grant which Jeff was involved with getting from Connecticut Port Authority to redo the Veterans Park dock in the East Basin.
They have their permits, right? So this is not a permit.
No, we're not approving it, but we're trying to make sure, my interest at this point is to be sure they have all the amenities we need for servicing our moorings that we rent seasonally in Norwalk Harbor. So there's places to tie up, there's water and electricity available, things like that.
It's a project advisory role that we've had going back like 4 years.
Right. So, yeah, and I had not received the current drawings in the last distribution. I received the one set before those, so nothing had changed, and I had a whole litany of things, and Chris had some points to make as well.
Chris, we've got a number of comments too.
I gave Alan my comments a couple weeks ago. I just couldn't call in today.
I'd be interested in seeing them if you don't mind. Just take a look at them.
Oh, sure. I'll sell when I get I've got the whole set. I haven't looked at it. I'll send it.
Good.
I'll
Okay.
send it to you.
Because I try to keep a minimal file on that, and so I'll incorporate that within that little file that I have. Okay, good.
And it's a big project, and congratulations to Jeff for securing the funding for it as well from Port Authority, because it's a big win for the East Basin and Norwalk to have that space there, and again, even for our mooring field to have a place where our mooring holders have a finished place to come to tie up and to pick up their passengers and so forth. So I think it's a kind of a win-win.
You're preaching converted, Alan.
So yeah. So I'm going to end my talk there. Do you have any questions for me at this point? Steve Bartos is not here. He's not coming. Did not have a report. They did not have a previous meeting, so there was very little to report. So moving quickly along, Harbor Master Lavallo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep my comments very short. We have about 115 mooring holders that have paid. I issued another 12 mooring permits that are being worked on right now. Norm Edwards is setting those mushrooms in the harbor this week. Pretty much, some maintenance items in the boat that we already clarified with Amelia, how we have to purchase these items, and I will do that. We need batteries, and then the boat's got to get hauled and painted and all that stuff. that's pretty much it. Received a couple complaints. I received a complaint a couple weeks ago. There's people that are complaining over in Marvin Beach because of the rowers, that the coaches yelling in their bullhorn. They feel that sometimes it could be a little excessive. That it's before 7 o'clock. So I sent an email out to all the rowing clubs, just reminding them that there is a noise ordinance for the city, and if they can just tone it down a little bit. And I haven't heard any other complaints, so I think that might have worked. And I'll leave the rest of the comments up to Commissioner Mangles, because we kind of work hand to hand. So he has a lot more to say than myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Harbor Master. Any questions for Harbor Master Lavallo from anyone? We're getting all set to have a very exciting season. Jeff Stedman, any further comments?
I do have a number of comments, and I'll try to do them quickly, and then maybe
Thanks, Jeff.
continue to next month. You mentioned the grant from the Port Authority. It's called the Small Harbor Improvements Project Program, and that was over $3.5 million. And I just want to say quickly that last year, if you remember, when we were talking about the strategic harbor plan, someone from a city agency, we brought up the role of the Connecticut Harbor Management Association. And that association was criticized, and I don't understand quite why, as not being a registered entity in the state of Connecticut. I just wanted to make the statement for the benefit of the other harbor commissioners that that's a volunteer organization. And if it wasn't for that Harbor Management Association, there likely would not be a ship grant program now that's administered by the Connecticut Port Authority. No. So I just want to make that clear when there was a comment that the information from that volunteer organization was not either valid or necessary. The other thing I'd like to say is, and perhaps you can take it up at your next meeting, is to make the recommendation that the Veterans Park Marina, the East Norwalk Marina at Veterans Park, be renamed the Anthony N. Mobilia Marina at Veterans Park. And when we pursued this sort of recognition for Dave Donovan years ago, to name the boating center after Dave, it started with a recommendation from the Harbor Management Commission. It was to Mayor Knopp at the time. So I'm suggesting that the commission consider making a similar recommendation to Mayor Rilling to name the Veterans Park Marina after Tony Mobilia. The other topic concerning the Veterans Park, yesterday the Port Authority, and I know I said I'd be short, there's a lot to talk about here. The Port Authority requested that the city provide a final accounting of the ship grant that was issued, which we also applied for then back in 2017. So we put together all the application materials that we did. The Port Authority has asked for the payments to the contractors and the invoices and the proof of payments. So that's all in the works now. And we provided the historical information on the application forms. So that was a little over $900,000, and the city was obligated for half of that amount. And if you remember, the ribbon cutting was in May of 2018. And then the other next topic, a personal one, Alan, your letter to me of April 17th, discussing my work and not in the most positive way. I'd like that to be part of the public record of the Harbor Commission, and to be able to, for the commission members to see that, and for me to be able to respond to some of the points there in a positive way. But we don't have time, obviously, to do that tonight. The Norwalk Watershed Initiative, which the Harbor Commission is a voting member of the Norwalk River Watershed Initiative Committee, and has been, and as we've said before, has participated and is an integral part of that initiative. Because of the relationship between the river and the watershed and the harbor and Long Island Sound. And I think it's especially important that we continue to be involved with that, because the Watershed Initiative now is updating the watershed-based plan. and they've hired an engineering firm, an outside firm. And since there's only $80,000 available, the firm says that it can only do a tabletop exercise and it's updating the policies. And in August, there will be a public outreach meeting. And again, my thought is that the commission should be actively involved in that, and we can participate in the updating of the plan. Some other things, I won't go into all the work that's ongoing in the legislature this session, having to do with the amendment of the Harbor Management Act. And that to me and others is the most important thing that is facing harbor commissions right now. So I don't know how the work is going now to update the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan, but it certainly has to be, whoever is working on that has to understand all the work that's being done and the agreements that we're reaching or hoping to reach with DEEP about amending the law and coming up next legislative session with a law that will clarify authorities and uphold the Harbor Management Commission authorities. That's a tremendous effort that many towns have been working on, and the towns now that are updating their harbor management plans, and New London preparing its first plan, they're all trying to communicate and have a similar approach to what's included in the implementation sections of those plans to have a united front with DEEP. Also attended 2 of the Manresa Island meetings. And again, thinking ahead that the Harbor Commission has a very important responsibility to review those plans when they're put forward, beginning with the remedial action plans. And the responsibility of the commission is it's, again, my opinion, is to review those plans critically and in the public interest, not to advance the developer's interest. The responsibility to the developers to review them fairly. But we can expect that in the future, and we need to be prepared for that. And also, you may have read in the newspaper about the developer in Westport's purchase of, I believe, Betts Island and Calf Pasture Island for the purpose of having sort of a destination recreational area. I'm assuming that they checked the zoning regulations before they did that to see that that's not permitted in the existing zoning, so it would require a zoning amendment, and it's not consistent with the Coastal Management Act. And then I'll just end this quickly. Back in March, I attended, without submitting a bill for any meager amount of hourly work, the 2025 Long Island Sound Summit, which was held at Housatonic Community College in Bridgeport. And that was a gathering of environmental groups from both Connecticut and New York. Very interesting. We talked about water quality monitoring, public outreach. So again, the information you gain and the insights and the people you learn at those meetings, it has value with what we're doing with respect to protecting water quality. And there was a guy there that I've known for 40 years, Mark Tedesco, who retired that week from the EPA. He was the head of the EPA's Long Island Sound office. And he made the statement that in his retirement that standing still will mean going backwards. So how do we maintain the improvements that we've achieved so far and add to them? And I think that's the challenge in this environmental work that we do and stewardship work. It's ongoing. So that's but I would appreciate the opportunity next month to address some of the issues that I've just raised here. Thank you.
Right. Jeff, any questions for Jeff? Moving right along, Mr. What's your name again? Mr. Mooring?
It starts with an M.
It does start with an M. Okay, so Dakwa 4 vessels so far, staying a total of 58 nights so far. There's another one that wants to come in for a whole month. I just got to find room for them. We'll see if we can. If not, we'll see if he'll want to go out to the Sheffield Island mooring. May only be 2 weeks, but he's putting in for a month, so I'll check that one out. As Harbor Master Lavallo stated, he's approved and gotten paid for a number of moorings, 62 approved, 53 that have paid and under review. That's because of paperwork. Transient mooring. So mooring tackle was inspected. We are going to be adding another, we need another one inside the inner harbor. So we're adding another one, transient mooring to the inner harbor moorings. This is going to be one that's moved from Sheffield Island Bay into the harbor. The new keg type moorings, mooring balls. Don't want to call them balls because they're sort of can shaped. They were installed with the exception of number 1 because there was a boat already on it. As soon as that's moved off, Edwards Marine's going to do that. They inspected, Norm Edwards inspected a total of 6 out of the 8 moorings. New mooring lines and hardware where needed and were installed. The cost of $28,1174. That includes a substantial discount from Edwards Marine that they give the city, that he gives the city for lifting or pulling up the moorings at half cost. So that's very much appreciated. We're floating around an idea of a floating dock. It has to be 100 square feet or less. So it's going to be 100 square feet to be placed just south of the city ramps with some mushroom anchors to keep it where it needs to be. And the idea is that for this is to be able to tie up and on either side of that that float.
It eliminates the dual lines on a mooring ball.
And it eliminates the lines on the mooring and a mooring ball, correct? So you don't need mooring ball, and they just tie up like they would normally tie up, and then they dinghy into the ramps. Managed fuel payments. Second payment was received by Norwalk Yacht Club, Rowayton Yacht Club, Sprite Island Yacht Club is pending, and it is going to be dropped off this week or next. Harbor Master Boat, as the Harbor Master stated, needs batteries. We've got Reese Battery is going to be our vendor. They've been approved, and Edwards Marine is already an approved vendor. We're going to get a quote for hauling, cleaning, painting, and a relaunch. That's in progress. There was one safety issue. Harbor Master Lavallo or Deputy Harbor Master Lee. There was a submerged dock or something like that I heard. Is that correct?
Oh, Ram, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's I haven't talked to Deputy Harbor Master Lee yet, but there's a some type of submerged dock between Peach Island and Harborview. There's a buoy tied to it, so we have to either I got to go out tomorrow or maybe the Marine unit can go out and see if they can assess the situation. I got notified about that today.
Yeah, so that is a definite hazard. So we need to get on that and make sure that that's okay. And if we need to get somebody to haul that, we can get somebody to haul it. And that's it. That's all I have.
For Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Jeff, Alan, excuse me, I just
go
want to ask Jeff a question if you don't mind.
Sure.
No.
What's our policy with regard to mooring fees? Just wondering, for example, if a boater comes into the harbor and they stop at a private marina, let's say they stop at around Overton's or whatever, does that owner, if they wanted to charge the owner the boat, they charge them a fee for mooring there?
Well, that's private property. They could do whatever they want.
They can charge whatever they want on that thing.
Yeah. Our mooring fee, it's we proposed the fee to the Common Council. Common Council has approved it. It's $40 a night. If you are if you're a business, like Overton's or iShoda or anybody else,
they could charge whatever they want.
Well, the yacht clubs manage fields. All the yacht clubs put out moorings and charge whatever they want to people to use the moorings.
Right.
Whether it's a mooring or a dock, those moorings are private property of, Norwalk Yacht Club or the other two.
Right.
That's correct.
They charge a lot more than we do for.
No, I got that sort of a rumor that came through, and I was just curious with regard to Harbor Lights rather.
Yeah, I mean, any private establishment can charge whatever they want for
Yeah.
people.
Right.
So there's no per.
You know, there's some signage,
Harbor.
there's some signs up there at Harbor Lights and Overton's, that type of thing, private dock.
Yeah, that's,
You
that
know,
was
that
my,
type of
that was
thing.
my impression that for mooring, they can charge whatever fee that they want. As if it's a private dock. Okay, that's all.
Whatever the public will bear, I guess. But
Yeah.
you know, they are, it is for patrons, as far as I know, it's supposed to be for patrons and.
This is something that came in apparently from across the pond and moored there, and was charged an exorbitant amount of money, but I guess he ended up paying for it because he wasn't inhabiting the restaurant at the time.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Moored there or docked there?
Just moored.
Mo-
It just docked. That just came in the dock. Just tied up.
Where
Right?
he's
Just tied
on.
up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just
Can we
tied up.
just get back to that? Can we digress quickly away from what Overton's is charging people to tie up at their dock? It's
Yeah, sure. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, all the moorings in the harbor at the yacht clubs are charged according to they have a city permit from us for their mooring.
Correct.
They can charge their club members whatever they want to. For, and that's logical because they provide launch service back and forth to those moorings and things like that. So
yeah, no, I got you.
It's their tackle. It's all of that. So,
but you know, our state law, just very briefly, our state law, written without a dollar sign or digits, says you can't charge more than $200 for a mooring permit, and it's in words, so it doesn't pop out at you and read the paragraph. But you know, other states are way beyond that. We're kind of on the low side for what we charge for a seasonal permit.
No, I got you. Okay, that was my okay.
Finance, Chris.
Yeah. So yeah, as Jeff stated, we've been receiving our payments from the online mooring, the annual mooring fees. We've collected $14,000 in the mooring from the mooring field. For the managed fields, we're at 28,000 between the 3 managed fields. There's still a good bit of money to come in off of them. We are closing our fiscal year at the end of June. If you have a budget, if you've asked for money in the budget, please spend it. We're carrying quite a bit of cash, so we have money for the repairs that need to be done. We put some money out for tackle. Now that was the drone. We spent mooring improvements. It was like $3,700 mooring improvements at the beginning of the year. So we certainly have money for all this. So don't if the money's authorized, please use it. And but I will say that before we engage anybody, whether it's professional services or otherwise, especially professional services, we should have a vote of the commission to do that. I've heard rumors that there's an RFP out for certain consultant services, which have not been discussed or authorized by the commission. And as the treasurer, I would not authorize payment to anybody that has not been authorized by the commission to receive payment. So without opening a bigger can of worms, I'm going to state that because it's gone unsaid the last 2 meetings. I'll conclude. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris? Newsletter, website?
I have no real update. I do apologize. My bandwidth has become negative recently. I'm currently in grad school, and that's chewing into a decent amount of my free time. So I will try to get something together for us before the high season, though. Some sort of communication that we can get out to the patrons of the moorings and whatnot to make sure that we communicate during our busy time and get people some resources for the harbor.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris? Moving right along, water quality. We don't have a water quality person at this point, so that's kind of moot. I had asked you to hang around commissioners for an executive session. After this meeting, I've had my hands slapped that we can't do that, so I'll figure out another way to get that done.
No, but
Yeah.
Alan, as far as that, we wouldn't need to go into an executive session because we do have the sole authority to make a recommendation of, for.
Yes, but I think with doing that, it's a personnel evaluation that we wouldn't do that with the public or everybody else involved.
No, but that's in the previous years, what was done with the nomination committee. And the nomination committee got together and made nominations based on 3 potential candidates.
Right.
Then based on the rapport that we have with the Office of, Commissions and Boards and Commissions up at the governor's office, that they'd allow us to make a recommendation of first, second, and third choice. We can triage the person that we want. And so far we've gotten pretty much, NORC has gotten pretty much what we've wanted. Basically, and it started also when we needed 2 deputy harbor masters. It was a matter of making a simple phone call. And, we talked to the person in charge there, and we made 2 recommendations based on the recommendation of our harbor master of whom we wanted. And basically we got exactly what we wanted. So we can certainly do that again, in an absence of a executive committee where we have a nomination committee coming together, putting together names or coming together, because I know some appointments are coming up for reappointment. And I certainly would have no problem of making our reappointment based on the commission's recommendation.
Right. So we need to make our recommendation. And,
Nominating,
do an evaluation is the point, isn't it? And,
through a nomination committee, and then
what's that?
by
No, I think
courtesy, we can let the mayor know.
We don't need to have I think the whole commission should be involved with that discussion.
Oh, yes, they are with the nominations that are made. And
because it's a personnel issue, it needs to be not a public conversation.
No, it's not. It's not.
So we'd have to do it in an executive session, whether it's at the end of this meeting or another meeting. That's the way that has to be done. So it's not everybody in the public able to play the tape and listen to the whole discussion. I don't expect there to be anything negative in this case, but it's still
no.
The principle is it's a personnel issue, and it needs to be conducted with some confidentiality. And that's the only that's the way I feel very strongly about it.
No, I certainly agree with that, Alan. But as I said, a nomination committee puts together 3 names. They can discuss that and bring that forward to the commission.
Right.
And the commission makes a voting yeah or nay.
We could do that, I think, with the whole commission. I don't think we need to have a nominating committee.
That's fair. Okay.
So I'm going to engineer how we get that done. But I'm sorry we couldn't do that this evening because it would be been quite simple. All right. Anything else? Anything new? Otherwise, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you all. Good night.
I'll talk to you guys.
Take care, everybody.
See everybody.